Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a Fight Night Rising, brought to you by Wisdom. My name is Crone, and joining me, as usual, we have Boopasaurus. Boop, how you doing tonight?
I am doing good. B-Patch just came through, so I'm not facing Cho'Gath every single round of my life, and in my nightmares and in my dreams, and
Yeah,
and maybe even in my fantasies. So we'll see what happens today after the B-Patch.
we will see what happens. V-Patch was a big one, probably one of the biggest that we have seen in TFT history. The Riot team wanted to make sure that we're all having a good time, queuing ranked, queuing normals, queuing whatever we're doing until the holiday season. So thank you to the Riot team for that one. But we have some more Fight Night Rising tournament action going on. And let's go ahead and introduce the players. We're going to be having a Rat coming back from 3 straight victories in a row. Plus, initially one top 3 placement. So this is their 5th week back, seeing how far they can go with this win streak. But also joining us from last week, we have a Common Quail and Jerry Woo. And then we have Sunny Shore, Chewy, Young Plum, Kuzma, and the Pikachu to round out this lobby, Boo.
So this is another pretty good lobby. A lot of good, tier 2, tier 3 players here in terms of, the upper echelon of TFT, the Ramblins of the world being, and the Roblins being the tier 1s. But this is a pretty stacked lobby. We've got people with experience like Chewy coming back, and there's names that you might recognize like Kuzma, and the Pikachu, not EU, but NA. And we'll see some of these newer names like Young Plum come through and see what they're able to do, because there's always one that tends to break through. But the number one thing I want to see is if a Common Quail could come back, because I don't believe he's ever been able to come back after usually doing really well one week, and then the next week it doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, see, consistency is the name of the game for TFT players. And like you mentioned, Kuzma as well. I'm actually excited to see. That's a name that I remember from way back in set 1, like super initial, starting tournament. So excited to see if they're still going to be killing it here in the TFT tournament scene. Let's go ahead and introduce the prizing that we have. Of course, it's $200 per usual. $100 goes to first, second place gets 50, third and fourth get 25, and the top 3 do get invited back for, well, not next week in this case, because the holidays, I think we're going to be taking a couple weeks off. We'll talk about that more later. We'll see these top 3 back in the new year. But, Boo, B-Patch did happen, a lot of changes. You mentioned that Cho'Gath we might not be seeing a lot of, hopefully, maybe. But still, a lot of other things got changed, too. Akali, that was pretty dominant, did get nerfed as well. I think it was her tier 1 that was hit the most, but still a tier 2. She's a bit weaker. Things that were maybe a bit over nerfed, like Vex, are now buffed a little bit. The Yone thing, it's a bit up in the air because his clone was benefiting double from Challenger and Academy buffs, but then his stats got buffed to compensate for that. So Yone's kind of up in the air. He still has seemed pretty good in the past couple days, but I'm sure players still having to do more figuring out when it comes to that.
And they're trying their darndest to kill Clapio, which I'm trying my darndest to say, let us have it. Just let us have Clapio. Everyone likes it. What did he say? It's not the fantasy of the character that is appropriate for the game, which is true. But Clapio is still really fun. We'll see if we actually see it. I actually saw it a couple times on ladder today. Seems like when people kind of like give up on some of their comps, they go Clapio, and sometimes it works. So we'll see what happens.
It feels like it either goes first or 8th. Like if you have a really good setup for it, sure, Clapio's still in the lobby. But if you're like, okay, I'm doomed, the only thing I can do is pivot into Clapio, then yeah, you might be a little screwed at that point. But it still can work. I think this is first impressions is a balanced meta. There's a lot of different AP flex kind of compositions that you can utilize, but there's also still, your Jin, your Urgots, your potentially Yones as well, and even things like Shaco reroll. I think, Raditz in his reroll compositions, watching Raditz stream, he was back on a reroll comp. It was the Shaco, and so maybe we'll see that here today as well.
Yeah, and Shaco is still, I think, figuring out what best in slot could be. I think there's a good idea of what it might be. We'll see what happens here. But I think a lot of things are still on the table. Like we said, the mutants were just so overwhelming in that last patch that we just actually got kind of squeezed out of some of these other comps. So now that the pressure's a little off and the bumpers are kind of a little bit more forgiving for some of these comps, we're probably going to see some cool late game comps, like with the new prismatic spats, for example, with things like snipers going on to units that aren't normally able to reach 2 hexes, for example.
True, there's a lot more excitement that happens with those augment reworks and just augments in general. I think players have figured out which ones are going to be better or worse, but I think there's still some experimenting to be done with these changes. Let's go ahead and get on into game number 1 tonight. On board with a rat who, again, reminder, has won 3 weeks of Fight Night in a row, and this is their 5th week consecutively back, and that's pretty big, Boop.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever won anything 3 times in a row ever, including TFT games and league games and, hopscotch and foursquare and tetherball and Squid Game. Oh, I won that. That's why I'm here.
Oh, true. Nice.
Anyway, but if I won that, I probably wouldn't be sitting.
Yeah. True.
But I'm just very shocked because this is not a game that's easy to do that with in terms of any type of streaking, right? Any type of 1-1 lag 1-1 type of situation is always really impressive. And Rat almost got the record last week, but unfortunately got felled by the 4th lobby curse.
Yep, so, it did come back.
Yeah, it sure did. And we're going to start off with a good amount of cash here for Rat as we move into our first augment.
Yeah, 6 gold opener.
Oh.
Okay. It's going to be prismatic. So Bruiser, Sniper, or Socialites. The Socialites is very interesting because it will be able to scale up into a nice late game composition if you do go, AP flex board. Still can work with AD, of course, but really it's the AP flex boards I think it really excels with. But double early Bruiser can certainly help you get off to a very, very good opener. And I think that might be what a rat's going to choose, but definitely considering these options.
The 2 Socialites is free stats, right? It's like a boosted hex for the rest, but we did not know where the Socialite hex was. So that's like another kind of thing. If you're able to scout it out, that's awesome, but picking that Socialite hex might put the hex in a really weird place, and you might not need the double boost in that situation. So going with the more tried and true with the Bruisers, and we can pick who we want those Bruisers to be. Any favorites on your end?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say the units, at least early game, just the ones that you want to be doing the most damage. Having Assassins, 2 kill units in the early game is fine. Throw one on Talon. Other one, I mean, it could just go on Twitch. It doesn't have to. It will give them a bit of extra HP, but it won't break a rat over into that 4 Bruiser threshold for more stats. Then we have Challenger emblems over here, and I'm actually really excited to see where this one's going to go for a common Quail, because Challenger Trundle can be a fantastic early game carry, but also just being able to build this into a Yone Fiora board. Fiora actually is a unit that did get buffed in this B patch, I believe. Yeah, her healing did go up on her ultimate from 15 to 20%, so I think this board can really cap out very, very highly if a common Quail can get to that 6 or maybe even 8 Challenger tier.
Yeah, Challengers have been pretty overperforming in terms of a comp just throughout the patch, so things are going to be moving power a little bit. I don't think we're trying to nerf Challengers forever, but we did move power into Fiora, for example, so I was playing a lot of Fiora because I just like that champion in general. It's a champion I play a lot on the Rift. It's a champion that I play to remind myself how bad I am at Summoner's Rift, but it definitely feels a lot better. Like the ult feels like a really big ult, and for 4-cost unit, that's really nice to have. And with that new health increase, especially as there's less and less units, you're more and more likely to ult again. So she kind of becomes one of those units that gets better and better as there's less and less on the field, which is most units. But for her specifically, having a 1 unit advantage is enormous versus some other units that do like having an advantage.
It definitely is. 100% agree. Let me see Common Quail now going up against Kuzma, who is playing some twin shots, playing a gangplank, doesn't have the 3 mercenary quite yet, is just missing 1, but still able to farm a little bit of gold. Actually has high-end shopping as well, so able to hit level 5 shops right now when they are only level 4. Pretty solid. And the Common Quail probably going to lose this one, because, Bruisers, twin shots early, GP farming a bit of gold, even has the GA slammed, which I actually like. GA can go on to almost any unit right now, it feels like, in terms of a carry, be it AD or AP. Yone, it's fine. Jinx, it's super good, but it's also good on things like Akali, Victor, Kaisa, just being able to make sure those units stay alive, and if they're AP, that they can get those Archangel stacks, or if they're AD, just another life bar, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with these emblems is don't feel like you have to go to like what stereotypically makes sense, right?
Sure.
Like putting these emblems on just other tanks because that's what makes sense. But a lot of these stats are going to be better, like you said, with something like an Archangels, which feels like a wonderful combo. When it comes
Yeah.
to these item combinations, so don't pigeonhole yourself into saying, "Hey, let's make bodyguard Darius," even though he already is. Actually, like bodyguard Warwick is a good example,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
That would be a good choice, but don't limit yourself to choices like that.
It is interesting seeing bodyguards in this board here because it's going to directly counter some of the things that we saw earlier. A common quail did have challenger emblems. Challengers are going to have a much harder time into the bodyguards later. Be able to fit 40 bodyguards, pretty doable, actually very doable. We see it on the board right now. Even later on into the game, it could pivot into a Galio plus a Braum. And that's all you need. And your board is just going to be super tanky. Maybe build some, Declaw on the Galio. I mean, Declaw not on Clapios, of course, but you can still maybe make it happen. We want to see
the
Clapios, never mind.
Yeah.
IE, Runans, just get them all the AD
The
items.
secondary Galio build, the
True.
tank one. We're lying, by the way. That's the primary build and the better one. But we can debate on the fun. I think Galio is just a fun unit in general. I mean, look, he's dressed
Oh, yeah.
so well. You can take him to dinner.
You
But
really could.
the bodyguard emblems here are going to be really nice on units like Ezreal, like you said, to get some of those stacks up. And units like Vi will actually get a lot of use out of it too, because she pumps out a ton of damage and is some utility. So we're tagging a good amount of people with that Morellos, as well as making
Yeah.
our other units around us stronger.
Yeah, now 2 bruisers and 3 scraps could make that 4 next level, but Young Plum is on a win streak, one of 2 players to be still at 100 HP, Jerry Wu being the other one. Playing looked like a Malzahar there and a Socialite Hex that was in the back row, so we know where Socialite is. That is a good sniper hex, actually any good backline carry hex, even decent for assassins because it doesn't matter, they just still need backline. They jump all the way to the opponent's backline. But now we see Young Plum versus Kuzma, and Kuzma now has the last whisper on that gangplank.
All right, Last Whisper is going to hopefully get us some more cash. Maybe not right now. Into this,
It's
Darius
trying.
doing
Nope.
a good job doing some tanking. Darius is one of those units that can overperform depending on how like the auto attack rhythm is for each team. That time performing well, and here we have Jerry Wu, who played very first or eighth last week. It was the definition of it pretty much, as Jerry would tank that HP really, really early on, and then tend to claw right back into the top 4, except for that last game where we were doing well the entire time, starting off strong and
Yeah.
finishing strong.
It was interesting too because Jerry Wu was actually almost in a position where they could have won Fight Night last week if they managed to get a first in that last game. Unfortunately, they only got a third, but it did net them enough points to make it back to this week. So definitely eyes are on Jerry Wu. Very interesting playstyle, as you mentioned, with that first or eighth. It can be, as it suggests, very feast or famine. But it looks like pretty feast right now. A lot of decent rounds in stage 2. Did lose that last round, so won't be able to full streak, but it's still okay, maintaining a decent amount of HP and already having things that we can begin to pivot into, right? There is an Urgot and a Lissandra on the bench. Now there's 0 gold, but they did go to level 6 because they have the level up augment right there, so it makes it really, really nice to just push levels early game.
And Jerry played very similar to this last week as well. Spent a lot of gold in the early game, and then just was very not rich or poor during rounds like 3-3 to 4-1. As it was kind of like, if we are able to do well during that time, then that's amazing. If not, then hopefully the streak, we're alive at the end of it, and we're able to go ahead and roll after. But we are doing a really good job setting ourselves up, but we do need to get that money, right? There's no finish if it's only set up. We have to have the ability to actually hit the home run after the pitch.
Definitely, I think that's a pretty good way of describing it. I 100% agree. You have to be able to translate it into something else, and need Econ to do that. Hopefully Jerry Wu can make 10 gold here. Okay, does sell Lissandra, that is a perfectly fine sell, but now there's the question of what items do we slam here. We could have potential Bramble. Bramble was nerfed a little bit, is now going to be 70 total armor instead of 80, but still going to be a solid frontline item. Now we have to make the decision, do we want to go AD or AP? With the Urgot on the bench, yeah, it looks like the Renan's just going to be AD. When does the Urgot find its way into the board? Perhaps not yet.
Yeah, the Hurricane on the Trundle means that the Urgot isn't necessarily the priority here. We're not carrying with a tier 1 Urgot there, but we are going to be able to do some good work with the Trundle in the front line with that Runaan's no scrap buff. So that's just a little bit of habit right there. I think in the front line, to be completely honest with you, I think we caught in 4K. But the
yep.
overarching theme here is that this opponent now, Young Plum, is mad tanky. As you can see, most of the units not even through the initial shields. And again, that's where those bodyguard spats can be very helpful, along with other types of healing, along with that team, as this is the definition. If you've ever heard us say win by attrition, this is what we mean.
Mm-hmm. Winning by attrition, I mean, no units are going to fall for Young Plum's board. And I mean, I don't want to say Jerry Wu kind of threw that round, but definitely not putting in at least a scrap so that Glove had a chance to roll into something like a Last Whisper. Could have preserved at least, 4 or 6 HP. Would have been a hard matchup either way, but definitely felt a little bit dizzy that round. Hopefully that doesn't continue to be the case in the future as we move back over to a Common Quail, who has not slammed any items yet, aside from obviously the Challenger emblems that he was gifted by the Augment, but now finally slams some Morellos, which is still not indicative of a direction, as it's a very flexible item.
Well, and it's one of those items that loses value as time goes on. It's nice, but you can get augments like the Sunfire board. You can get other things that will help with the same aspects that Morello's helps with, but it's going to be nice right now, especially against another group of units that don't necessarily have a ton of itemization across the board, as we were invested in a singular unit there, but we're already seeing Trundles starting to fall off on 2 boards. So the challengers do take it out, and this is going to be a snap to that loss streak, which is, nice at 3-2, but now we're kind of forced to win streak through the rest as we get through our augments, because we left a lot of power on that bench with those items. So if we want to continue the streak, we're probably going to have to invest and roll maybe a tad.
Yeah, I mean, and it's okay to slam these AD items, I think, because Morello's can still find its way into a Challenger composition. You can throw a Yuumi into there with the Morello's. She gives the Academy for Yone. That's a bit far away, but it's not like the item's going to be forever doomed, right? Could be considering slamming an Infinity Edge onto this Trundle, still have an extra sword for a Guardian's Angel. There's still options here, and with the Cybernetic, actually, that a Common Quail picked, you might actually be considering spreading out these items to get that Cybernetic bonus.
Yeah, I mean, all you need is just a component, right? So,
yeah.
And that's just free health in the early game. Health is probably the most important statistic that you have in terms of being able to consistently win rounds. We actually just saw it with that bodyguard comp, right? Just last round, as Comet Quail now hanging out in the bottom of the leaderboard, this pretty evenly split lobby. We'll see if we're going to continue our win streak here. It's going to be the Hextech Gunblade that's going to scrap onto the Trundle, and a little bit more damage right now coming in from green, and with most of the damage coming in from Caitlyn, these ults are going to get more and more valuable as time goes on, and we should be able to get to this last ult, and look at that. Bodyguard emblem's pretty good.
Yep, bodyguard there from Pikachu allowed Caitlyn to, snipe everything down. Camille was not able to do enough on a Common Quail's board, neither was the Ezreal. Ezreal just having the Challenger emblem, not enough damage. As we do move on into Stage 3 Carousel, Common Quail does not win the 50-50 versus Kuzma. Has to pick second, and that spat goes over to Chewy. I wonder what Chewy's going to make with that. It's on a Seraphine as well. Interesting.
Yeah, Seraphine is a unit that feels like it's doing nothing or is doing everything. In overtime, she's really good if she gets that ult off. Does healing, gets attack speed on your team, hurts the other team, can get some serious damage going as well, especially in first aid comps. Seraphine can get really good, the augment that helps with shielding, as well as some of the other enchanter augments, because she fits into those comps quite well. But now we have the tier for Sunny Shore, and what looks like a new font. Or maybe it's just a lot of letters. I like it. I like looking at fonts. That's a weird thing. One of my weird habits. But the Thornmail on the front line is going to be nice, and it doesn't seem like people are really running away from that item, even though we did see it get nerfed.
Yeah, true. That's only a 10 armor nerf. It's not the end of the world. Just makes it a bit less oppressive because I think the concern that was trying to be addressed in this patch was fights were taking so long. The front line was a bit too tanky. It's still going to, serve its purpose, of course, negates crits, makes front line a bit tankier. The Sunny Shore right now is level 7, does have some good backline items as well, some AP flexible items with Archangels and Morellos on a TF. It's a fantastic carry. And we see it work really well, especially with the 4 Scholars that Sunny Shore is going on. Like, this is a fantastic early to mid-game board. 4 Scholar, 3 Yordle to be pumping out economy as well. That's why Sunny Shore is so rich. The Syndicate's huge for Darius or TF. Everything's just really, really good here.
Yeah, my highlight loss of the week so far was actually against a Scholar comp with a Zyra, with a Rage, like old school Zyra build with double Rage Blade Static Shiv. If you remember that old version of her, and they had the Scholar augment that increases their AP permanently for every thing they survive, and so
lifelong learning.
Yeah, and I was playing snipers, and I was like, "There's gonna be a point where this Zyra just destroys my world," and it happened, and it was just super cool. It ended up getting, I think, second or third in that lobby, but it goes to show how flexible these new prismatic emblem-based augments can be for you, especially since some of them actually allow you to pick which emblem to go on which unit. Here it's going to be a little less flexible, but we are going to get a good amount of mana going into our team, and we don't even need a bunch of tier 2 units because of it, because the mana is going to be helping a lot of people here, and it's just going to be another win by attrition. This is, something I say a lot, death by 1,000 paper cuts. There it is again.
Yeah, Chewy takes some huge losses there. Chewy did look like grab the Seraphine just for an Innovator. Had 5 Innovator right there, but not able to get up to the 7 as of right now, unless they get a little bit luckier later on into the game. But they might not have the time to do so, as 28 on Wolves is pretty low. It's no Soju dying before Wolves as he did recently, but it's still it's getting there.
All right, so we've got the Blitzcranks on the bench to help out if we need the scrap, potentially. We can put it in if we want that ability to move some of the backline over to us, but most people at this level are pretty good at blocking it out. But this is a good amount of synergies here that we can work with. Plus, we're printing money. We don't want to beef on like a 1-cost Yordle, but even then, it's going to help. That's definitely a big reason why we're over that 50 gold as we move over to Kuzma now, as you say, a name from a blast from the past, as we are going to tier 2 some units, but not Braum. We are going to get the Brahms off of the bench, and we are mid-pivot, Crowan. That's what this looks like.
Mid-pivot, rolling down, not finding the units that they want. Where are the Urgots? Where's the Jinx? These are level 8 shops because of high-end shopping, but not hitting anything. Has to settle for a Jace carry, which, to be fair, is definitely not the worst. Jace carry can work out. It's just not what Kuzma wanted right now, and doesn't even have 5 bruisers as well. Could have, I think, bought this Trundle and played 6 bruiser, if I'm not mistaken, but had a lot to do in such a short amount of time. Wasn't able to get it all done. Still might be okay, though, for this round, seeing as the Pikachu has not really spent any gold.
Pikachu face. Though this Caitlyn now is starting to really fall off. There's just a point where that Caitlyn either needs to be tier 3 and get that boost of clockwork energy, for example. Like that, there are a lot of augments in the game and a lot of synergies that help you compensate for not having an item. For example, like, hey, clockworks are going to help your snipers, so if you don't land a Rage Blade, someone like Triss isn't going to be completely useless, right? Yeah. So in this situation, and now that we have some enforcers and not a 6 bruiser yet, we need the items to do it for us because we don't have technically the help from other places, and we need, I think, that 6 bruiser to really push us over the top, because that HP is going to help us last just a little bit longer. And as this Mundo gets stronger, it's not what is it going to give time to the Jace in the back line, who we started to commit from, because he got a little bit of a boost here, I believe, on this patch coming up. On that last patch, so he's going to be doing a lot of damage from the back line. You're already seeing it right now, but is it too little damage? The answer is yes, as we get bonked by an Innovator comp.
Yeah, Innovator comps are very solid. Having the Orianna to be one of the carries as well is fantastic. And okay, I thought Kuzma, I saw a lock there, then they unlocked, then they just locked again. Really going back and forth, they want to commit to this Jace, because what it's going to do is make it so that we're probably just not going to ever go Urgot Jinx direction unless the shops and carousels from here on out are insane. I think Kuzma is probably saying, okay, this might be doomed. My one out is to high roll a Jace 2, either by getting one from this stage 4 carousel coming up, or just praying that high-end shopping is going to, do wonders for him. But even still, even at that point, level 8 is so far away. We're on 0 gold, rolled it down to 0 for the past few rounds in stage 4. It's just not in the spot that you ever really want to be.
I think there's a very, very, very low possibility we see a level 8 from Kuzma, especially at 35 HP, even if we do win a couple rounds. As we look on over to some enchanters now, so this is a comp that I think a lot of people looked at, especially with this B patch, and absolutely wrecks their opponent. But we've got some enchanters and challengers. Enchanters are going to make those challengers a little bit beefier, especially with that spatted Jace there. So, it's the Spider-Man meme, but one has to reign supreme, and it's going to be your opponent. But we do get the Jace on the carousel. Okay. But is Chewy going to snipe it?
Oh,
yes,
no!
He will. Does Chewy even need it? Let's go. I'm very curious to see.
I mean, Chewy was going Innovators, so they do need it. Yeah, they have Innovator composition. They have 5 already. Still not able to go to 7 Innovators, though, but just wants to replace, say, maybe an Ezreal. It's unfortunate. Both players need the unit. You just happen to be on the opposite side of the carousel. That might doom Kuzma's fate, because I actually do think there was a slight possibility if Kuzma was able to tier 2 the Jace, they could have stabilized long enough to go level 8. Wouldn't have had that much gold to do anything at level 8, but I think it was within reach. Now, however, I think it's almost guaranteed, too far away.
Yeah, slowly but surely. I actually think Jerry Wu just became the strongest one, or if not one of the strongest boards on the Convergence right now, as we got the tier 2 Yuumi and the tier 2 Urgot over there. That's pretty much what you need in that late game. We'll see where the actual placement is going to be at the end, but we've got Bodyguard, Shiv, Giant Slayer, and the Malzahar. Not really something that you see every day.
8 bodyguards. Also not something you see every day.
Can you imagine if we get first aid next? That'd be crazy. Or anything that helps with shielding.
Yeah.
But it's going to be all up to this interesting Malzahar build, which will make him pretty strong every time we do throw that ultimate out, but we don't attack fast enough. If we had the mutant buff, for example, where we attack a couple times randomly, then that shift makes a lot of sense. But now it seems like we maybe would have liked that jeweled gauntlet, as we can't get more bodyguards.
Yeah, you get an academy, you get a protector. I don't think you need more armor or MR. I think that's, MR maybe, but definitely not the armor. It's going to be protector. Huh. This is a lot of emblems, and Last Whisper counters 3 of them, which we just saw the last fight.
Yep, and unfortunately, I don't think we do damage quick enough to take over other kinds of comps, so I'm a little worried right now, especially since these other comps are starting to really power up. For example, Jerry Wu, like we mentioned, on fire right now. Sunny Shore at 83 HP, not looking that strong at the moment, but the bottom side of that leaderboard has been hemorrhaging at this point. So Chewy and Kuzma, we haven't really gotten to see Chewy's board, but Kuzma's board definitely having a little bit of an issue. And here is Chewy's board, and there's that Jace we saw earlier with that plate turning into a gargoyle stone plate. So hopefully this is going to be enough. That stone plate's actually getting a lot of value right now. Ooh, nice channel.
Like getting a lot of value. There's not much AD damage Chewy can do to Young Plum's board, but the AP in the backline between the Orianna and the Seraphine are going to be nice, and they're only tier 1, but I think that's enough. Young Plum's board just does not have the damage. The Malzahar with the Shiv, there's no Arcanist, there's no Mutants, there's not really anything to keep this going. Young Plum now on a 4 loss streak. Kuzma drops to 5 HP. Chewy hangs on because that last round is kind of just a fight to see who can dodge 8th place at this point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Kuzma needed the Jace. Everything was there except for the last thing he needed, which was just to be on the right side of the carousel to get to the Jace. But at least you're seeing him find some success on Chewy's board, so a little bit of a consolation prize as we move over to Pikachu NA and see what items we're going to finish off our rounds with. And it's a lot of defense.
There's gonna be a lot of defense. We have Trade Sector, hoping for some good rerolls, maybe finding Victor 2, Oriana 2, 6 Bodyguards, 3 Enchanters, 2 Socialites, though. This board is very, very nice. It has the sustain from the Enchanters, it has the Tarek, the Seraphine, the Janna, and a bunch of tankiness with the front line. Braum now being upgraded is huge, and having 2 items as well. This is pretty big, and we do find a Yuumi on top of that as well.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of those comps that benefits just from the meta in general. As you said, there's a lot of AP that can be flexed into these comps, and what's good against AP? Enchanters specifically. And so right now we're running with the 3 Enchanters, 6 Bodyguards. This is actually something we haven't quite seen a ton of so far. We've seen a lot of comps, but these super heavy comps are not as popular in previous patches, but with so much shielding, so much HP, the tried and true was, late game rounds go a lot faster than some of the early and mid game rounds. And as we can see in front of our eyes, I think we are in a situation where some of these comps are just so good at keeping each other alive. You don't need the damage, you just need time.
You just need the time to scale, and the Morellos and the Seraphine, that just does damage basically for free over time. It is really a slow bleed out for one of those boards, and it looked like Chewy and Kuzma both fell at the same time. Chewy took a bit more damage, so takes the 8th. Kuzma 7th. Now we're out to our top 6, and Jerry Wu up there at the top. Boop is still on a win streak.
Kuzma, I think, actually kind of lucky to get 7th there, to be honest with you. That roll down was rough. A little earlier. So, sometimes things just aren't in your favor, and hopefully Kuzma, just washes their hands and comes back into this next game and is ready to go. Here's a little bit of a faster round. A lot more damage on this board. Is going to be Rat with the binary airdrop. So binary airdrop's either your best friend or your worst enemy. Love seeing Jins with this setup. Don't love seeing Jins with like Gargoyle, Stoneplate, and Thornmail for that last item. But the more items you actually have spread out here, so binary airdrop's really good with things like cybernetic if you're able to combo those augments together, because you don't want to fill up your units, you just want to put 2 on each, and this is something that gets really strong in the late game.
100% it does. That's going to be giving items to 4 separate units. That's solid, and soon it'll be even more once we reach the dragon round and things like that. Rat's making the most out of that augment for sure, and has just a good comp to do it with, right? Jin's going to have most important items being IE. Runens is all right, but still we're pretty solid. It's a bit of an unorthodox position to be pivoting into a Jin, right? Because usually with bruisers you would think, okay, I'm going to play Urgot Jinx, but a Rat just hit a bunch of Jins, so that's fine. If I play this Jin with the Bruiser frontline, then it's working out decently well.
Yeah, we've got the Clockwork to help out too. So this roll not as good in the backline because the ult is very, very long and is going to take a little bit longer to get back to you. And there we go. It's not the only difference, but that was a huge difference in terms of our success. And those rolls for binary airdrop could mean the difference, here between losing between 5 and 2 units, for example.
Yeah, definitely so. It's hard to kill a Kaisa being tier 2 and bodyguarded. I think we saw that last week, right? We saw like a bodyguard Kaisa win the first lobby. Yeah, I remember that actually now. That's crazy. Now we might be seeing the same thing here again. Young Plum has a long way to go for that to happen, but the potential's there. Okay, Jerry Wu loses the streak.
Yeah, Jerry Wu did lose the streak, so these rounds are starting to get really, really long. So knowing that coming into this carousel, picking up things like an Archangels might be a little bit more valuable. We don't get that opportunity, but another valuable item could be something like a Rage Blade. Because things are lasting so long, you're going to get max value out of things like that. And I think we're going to tier 2 the Oriana by grabbing that. And Rage Blade and Oriana, not bad, as Jerry, sitting in first place right now, has a ton of synergies. We've got some healing on both our own HP as well as our units with that Celestial Blessing, as we're going to move our items on over, our items meaning our Thief's Glove,
Okay,
onto the
it's gonna
Mundo.
go onto the Mundo. And not bad items here. The Morellos can get value from Mundo. Same with Ionic. Tom Kench, though, couldn't help but thinking it might be a bit better there, at least until we get the Mundo 2. Oh, selling a Tarek 2. Okay, that's where the items are going to go onto the Kench. Jerry Wu did lose the last 2 rounds. Let's see if he's able to turn that one around.
Okay, so in order to turn it around, you got to find that breaking point, right? So it looks like it's not going to happen. That was a quick round. You got the Jeweled Gauntlet roll for the Yone. I believe does help a little bit.
Yeah,
it helps the life steal, because the more AP you have, the more life steal your Shadow creates, I believe. It's one of those things, because I believe every unit has an AP and AD ratio in this set.
They do. It'll have AP scaling. It will give a little bit of crit as well, just because the Jewel Gauntlet is there. So it's not completely useless. And it did, of course, win that last round. Pretty convincingly. Pikachu and Plum did go out at the same time, -4 HP, but Plum will get the 5th. Now we have our top 4, a Common Quail, a Rat, Jerry Wu there. Those are our top 3 from last week, and they are in the top 4 of this game.
Quail had a little bit of a rough start here, so good to see that it doesn't seem to be finishing this lobby in the same position as he started, which was on the bottom of it. We have started to solidify ourselves, and like you said, 3 out of our last 4 showing up today, and you love to see that. You like to see the consistency, and we'll see if Rat is going to be able to win even more lobbies. At this point, I believe has probably won about 50% of the lobbies they've taken part in, as this composition from Jerry is starting to look a little thin at the moment, and there's just too much damage on the board for Jerry to have to take right now, and too much healing and too much defense for Sunny Shore there, who looking really strong right now. But Quail now tied at 14 HP. This might actually come down to single unit losses coming into stage 6-1.
Potentially can. I'm not sure if really anyone can deal with Sunny Shore's board right now, but as I say that, a Rat gets Jin 3, and that can certainly take down a Victor 2. A Rat still looking to be a Fight Night victor for this week, going for the 4 times in a row, and that's a great start to do it with.
Yeah, Jin 3, man, no one's going to be taking it on the Jin for a Rat right now. It's going to be everyone else having to take that damage, and at this point, it feels like everyone's just walking the plank. Right? Who's going to go to the Jin? How much is the Jin going to win by? We shall see, because Sunny Shore has the ability to meter those ultimates to say, if they don't one-hit me, my Seraphine will ult in between one of these ults to potentially save a couple of our units. So we'll see if those ultimates line up to help, because the Orianna Seraphine combo can be very, very useful.
100% it can. Okay, gonna be passing up, doesn't actually want a Galio or a Seraphine, saying no to the Socialites, but is going to find Jinx, and that's where the Giant Slayer is going to pivot on over into. We get a bunch of good synergies as well with the Scrap and the Scholars. Yuumi is already tier 2'd. Unfortunate that the Glove is going to be stuck there. That'd be nice to be a Hand of Justice with that tier that's on the bench. And oh, the Zephyr is going to hit the Jin, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough.
Ooh, I mean, we've seen the Zephyrs win rounds, and I don't think there was enough damage done. Oh, big CC, though. This is where the damage can come through. The Jinx gets away. He's going to get into the back line, and Jin is starting to target the back line himself, and this isn't over. The Jin falls. It is going to be the Urgot to take the Jin at 3 down. Zephyr, good item, everyone.
Zephyr is a good item. I was living in the church of disbelief there. I was like, it's a good Zephyr, good play, but I don't think it'll be enough. It actually was. It was still a close fight, but that is what you like to call a Zephyr differential.
Yeah.
If that happens again, a Rat's going to be Jin 3 in 4th place, and that feels very bad.
Well, and that is just you got to compliment the player in that situation.
Yeah, 100%.
All Zephyr plays are player-based, in my opinion, and how people play around with them, switching around. It's all about predictions and how much you've gotten into the mind of the rest of the lobby. As we get to see the Jin 3 again, and if this Victor does not ult in time, it is not going to be a good time. But the Zyra gives them an opportunity to ult, and then the Victor ult goes through anyway, and the Gen 3 is gonna lose again. But
Oh no.
oh, with the Zyra ult not gonna be there. I think the Victor's got this.
Yeah, of course, the Victor gets that. And a Rat loses 2 rounds in a row with Jin 3. Actually ends up taking the 4th. Wow. 6 Scholar plus Shojin on the Victor. That is so much mana, it's ridiculous.
Got the second ult off because it was taking damage. I don't know. That's a board, if you've ever seen one. I think is running the 100% speed run on that board. But we're going to go ahead and switch the Victor out of the Socialite Hex. Love that. I know, Crowan, you love seeing that.
Oh yeah, I love seeing it to dodge the Zephyr, and it's still going up dodging the Zephyr. What good plays there by Sunny Shore. I believe it was a 50-50 there, but sometimes you do get lucky, you get rewarded, you get your Victor to cast and wipe pretty much the entire board. Urgot did survive, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to survive the second Victor ult. Yeah, there he goes. Sunny Shore taking out Jerry Woo in that round. Common Quail, though, had a bit of a rough opener, but has now win streaked all the way into second place.
Yeah, there is no chance, I believe, this goes into round 7. Actually, there is. If we split the next 2 rounds, we could be going into round 7-1 as we get an RFC and a D-Claw. The Shroud is going to be a huge deal when it comes to this particular comp going up against a Common Quail. As a Common Quail gets that Smear too, at least we get a little bit of something there. And we're going to be feeding our TKs. Sir Thomas would like some dinner now, as we're going to feed them both, get the stats, and combine them.
That's a good play. Make sure if you're about to upgrade your Tahm Kenches, you can feed them both. They will be able to keep the stats. Now Sunny Shore can move Victor back into the Socialite Hex, does not have to worry about a Zephyr this time, but does have to replace the Shroud. Let's see if it's a good one. Was that Shroud hit? It hits the Orianna. Not much more.
All right, Crowan. I don't even remember to feed my regular Tahm Kench, let alone the one I'm about to upgrade, as we do get this Victor ult, and the backline's going to get neutered, and basically if the Victor ults, it's over, and we get a second ultimate here, and a ton of items from the Tahm Kench as well. So this isn't going to be going to round 7, and that's going to be a win here for Sunny Shore.
Sunny Shore taking it. The early Scholars did not have much, stage 2 power, but it seems like they had a lot of power from stage 3 on. A fantastic board. I believe that was the TF item carrier, and then eventually transitioned into the Victor. Maybe a bit high roll to hit the Victor 2 at level 8, but still wonderfully done there by Sunny Shore. Let's take a look at our scores from game number 1. Remind ourselves where everyone ended up. It was Sunny Shore, of course, in first, and then a Common Quail in second, Jerry Woo in third, a Rat in fourth, then Young Plum fifth, Pikachu sixth, Kuzma seventh, and Chewy, unfortunately, did end up taking the 8th.
Yeah, Sunny Shore making the lobby a little sunny sore, if you know what I mean.
True.
That was a pretty good, not pretty good. That was an amazing top 3 for Common Quail, Woo, and Sunny Shore, because 2 of them beat Rat's Gen 3. I don't know if that was a Zephyr, definitely was a Zephyr diff for the first round that we watched. But for the second one, it really was the Yuumi getting the CC off, during the ultimate. So not only did the ultimate come through for the Gen, and you had to wait for that, right when he would shoot the first bullet, he got CC'd by Yuumi. And by the time he actually got going, he fell. So is that more of a thing on Jin, or is that more of a, hey, these players are playing really well and they just outpositioned them?
It definitely looks like the players are playing really well as just the board from Sunny Shore, I think, was just actually flat out stronger than a Rat. It's not like you can, make your Yuumi just ult ridiculously fast, or she's going to attach, she's going to gain mana, right, because of the 6 Scholars. That'll do it for a Yuumi for the mana regeneration. But just a well-constructed board as well to take out the Gen 3. Usually, if we see a tier 3, tier 3 4-cost unit, it's going to win the lobby. But that time it just wasn't going to happen that way. It's in 2 rounds in a row. I mean, a rough one for a Rat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you lock in those tier 3 4-cost units, you're kind of like, I got this, right? You kind of
Yeah.
like lean back and you're like, let the game drive for me. And unfortunately, cruise control does not mean that it will drive for you, as a lot of people thought when it first came out. But as we get into our second lobby, we'll see if Rat's going to be able to come back from that. Because even though we top four, I'd be a little hot under the collar when it
Yeah.
came to coming into the second lobby, because I feel like someone just got robbed a little bit.
Definitely a little bit. It does, of course, as we were mentioning, feels bad. Last week, a Rat did start the week off, or start the tournament off with double wins. But the week before that, actually, on December 2nd, a Rat did start off the day with a fourth. So he is used to being in this position, can still consistently get these top four placements, and with that, look for another win. But, I want to compliment, again, a common Quail in that game, because I don't think that was the easiest game to pilot for him. The mid game was definitely super rough, with a lot of other boards were stronger than his, but eventually got to the Yones, the Fioras, and actually I think playing the Jace there was fantastic, because it gives Enforcer, you're able to make really good use out of one of the Challenger emblems. I wouldn't really get to see too much of his perspective there. We can kind of infer as to how that went, with some well-timed rolling down and some sacrificing HP until he really needed to get that power spike online.
There's a couple inferences or assumptions that we can make about how Quail played, even though that we didn't really get a chance to look at some of that late game stuff because of where they ended up, right? So the roll down worked out, the timings all worked out, as well as the itemizations. And I think the itemization and when to itemize was a little bit of a difference maker that game, because if you remember, Quail waited a really long time to put their items on, and it looks like that was the right choice, because we got the cybernetic augment there, and maybe knowing that is going to be the case, we got a little bit beefier, we got some of that support in, and we got to win a lot of those rounds through attrition, and we did get to steal a higher place higher, because I think, was it Quail's comp that didn't face off against the Gen 3?
Yeah, I believe it faced against whoever had the Zephyr, which was not Quail, and then the Victor, which was Sunny Shore. So yeah, it did not face up against
So I think that comp would have been
Quails.
probably the one that had the hardest time against the Gen, because of just how it was working out for Quail. But, sometimes the rest of the lobby helps you out, and that's what happens. Same thing with Chewy giving a 7th place to our friend Kuzma there by 1 HP.
Yeah, I know. The 1 HP, and then between the 5th and 6th, there was the same HP they ended up at the end of it. And we get to see it is going to be Adrenal for the mutant Sunny Shore. Thanks for showing that to us. So it'll be chance for extra auto attacks. Not the best mutant after Cho'Gath has been nerfed, but maybe still viable.
I think it still is. If you get a really early Cho'Gath, it's definitely valuable, but I think the timing on the Cho'Gath is super important, a lot more important than it was previously, when Cho'Gath didn't need stacks, just needed items. As we have our augment, it's going to be a Bruiser Heart to start, which is Trundle, and we already have a lot of HP on this board, just one more Bruiser to go.
Yeah, where Bruiser can find a Zac, potentially, that would be wonderful for this board. A Vi as well. Tier 2 cost, a bit easier to find the Vi. Scouting out the rest of the players' boards, Pikachu looks like they're starting Yordles. Couple bodyguards there. No real exciting stuff with these augments, seeing as they're only tier 1 augments, but a couple of syndicates actually. Makes me think that we're going to be seeing either some Shakos, some Akali's, probably both on some of these boards, in the late game at least.
Shakos and Akali's, a comp that we didn't get to see at all on the last round, so we have evolved a little bit now. And we're going to be pushing up some potential assassins. No Mercs in that last game, no Yordles in that last game, because if you're going like an Enchanter type of comp, you can open with Yordles. We did get to see a couple people open with it, but no one stayed around. And we actually got to see some Innovators still. A lot of people thought that it would be a little too hard to get, but it seems like it's worth it, especially in the mid-game if we're able to lock in and go to the zoo and see a bear.
Seeing a bear. Bear is pretty powerful. Also Trundle 2 in the last board. Went over to Common Quail. Has some Scholars, Bodyguards, and Syndicates. Nice board, no upgraded units though. So that part is a bit rough. And no items that it seems like Common Quail is willing to slam here.
Okay.
These are literally... Okay. Almost the exact same boards, I guess. Ziggs for Zyra. I was going to say, wait a minute. That were really the Spider-Man meme, but not quite.
Yeah, and Zyra is just one of those units, again, we talk about these, that can feel amazing or absolutely awful. Zyra one that actually feels a little bit more like the latter. We saw her win around, though, in the last lobby based on a really clutch ultimate. We're not going to be able to do some of those fireworks this time around, as Quail is going to lose that round. And I think there's this crazy statistic out there that if you lose your first round, you're like over 50% to pick first or second on the carousel. If you play correctly. And so you've already lost. You're already at 94 HP. There's already separation between you and second pick, right? So you have a lot more control over where you end up in the next 2 rounds than a lot of other people do.
And Common Quail is definitely making the choice to continue to lose rounds. That's why he's going to be playing these Yordles right now, trying to gain economy while getting first pick. And definitely needs first pick, right? No items here, again, that he's willing to slam, so wants some specific ones. I don't know if it'll be Morello's at this point anymore, because the belt was now dedicated to a Blitzcrank. It does give a redemption here. Just trying to save a couple of HP while still losing, and might do that. Yeah, does get the 1 kill. So, I mean, that's really good recognition. Even if you're not able to win the rounds outright, killing enough units, as many units as possible, is going to get you some extra placements oftentimes later on to the game.
Okay, so now that we have kind of the next moment in the game, now that we're going into these PvP rounds, like you said, now where it's a Common Quail who has already solidified first pick pretty much, right? So has Pikachu, and now it's all about losing by as little units as possible, exactly like you said. Since we already had that head start, now we can already start, putting the tourniquet on and stemming the bleeding, and we're going to be able to do it really early, because an 88-94 separation is almost impossible to break through. I think we can get 88-88 going into the carousel if they get wiped. So we'll see where Jerry Wu ends up. But Quail should have first pick on this carousel, which was definitely the plan all along.
Yep, looks like it'll remain to be the case here. Sunny Shore has a few syndicates in here, a couple of items dedicated to these units, but again, no full item slammed. It might actually end up being a round win depending on how much this Heimer can cast. Scholar is going to give the mana over, and another cast here. Yep, those rockets are gonna win the round with the next Ziggs ulti. Not the best, but still gonna be first pick. All right, we take those.
We take those. When the game gives you something, it's just like what my parents said about free food. Just take it. Right?
Yeah, depends what the food is, but
yeah.
Free food is free food.
Yeah, free food is free food. But we are going to be able to get through that carousel. We're hiding our board a little bit. A lot of spatulas on this particular carousel. I think I spotted at least 2. But now we'll see if we have any more transitioning here. Lissandra 2 would be really nice for Quail. As we go over to Young Plum, I don't know, by the end of end of fight night, do you think he'll be middle-aged Plum?
End of this fight night? I don't know. Maybe
middle-aged
like next
Plum
fight
31.
night. Yeah, middle-aged Plum 31. Fully swapping it around.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was proud of
maybe
that
next
one.
year. Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year we'll grow up. Maybe one day I'll be old enough to vote. The Young Plum now picking up some syndicates. This was a comp that I think a lot of people kind of assumed would be really good, and that was the case, especially with the Assassins. But with the B patch has been taken down a little bit, I think deservingly, but we shall see this TF absolutely wreak some havoc, especially with that Morello's, and 2 straight ults from the TF hitting every member of Sunny Shore's team. Ooh, hot hands there, hot hands.
3, that's the best TF cards I have seen in quick succession, like 3 ults in a row, almost ever. Give this TF a raise. Keeping Young Plum high in the HP. Kuzma did drop, so now Chewy is the only player in this lobby to be win streaking.
Very different from last lobby, just in general, with Chewy, who really bombed out there. Doesn't seem like Chewy or Kuzma were able to get anything going, and I'm so happy to see both, in moderately better spots already, based on where their boards are currently. So we'll see if they're going to be able to maintain that through the mid game, which we are going to be entering. I think the mid game kind of starts at 3-2. 3-2, 3-3, definitely by 4-1. Is Young Plum now going to put the Blitzcrank in the front line, gets Enforcered, which is 5 seconds long, friends. Not everything in this game is a multiple of 4. And maybe
True.
this Enforcer is not really going to help by that much, but the Caitlyn ult comes in clutch, and it's going to be
Oh,
close here. It's a 1v1. I think the Heimer's got it. Yeah,
yeah.
got some fire. Only you can prevent forest fires, Caitlyn.
But she could not succumb to the Morello's burn, unfortunately. But good for Young Plum, though, is able to at least 2-streak into the neutrals. Upgraded Blitzcrank plus upgraded TF is going to be enough for Syndicates here. Definitely means that, having that Syndicate augment, this does want to transition into a full Syndicate board. Or at least 5 Syndicate, right? We don't need the full 7, but 5 is still going to be very, very good in the late game. There are some socialites in there as well. Buff up the Akali, make her the carry that she wants and deserves to be.
Only you can prevent yourself from your dreams. As Akali now, really trying to reach those heights. I just want to be a star. As we have a tome now for Rat, which is going to be very, very flexible. So a lot of people, I think, use the tome way too early. A lot of people get it and then use it, but there's a couple things that you can do with it. Wait around so you get emblems that you know you're going to use, but then also you don't know sometimes what you're playing at round 3-1, 3-2 just yet. So maybe wait a little bit longer, especially with a spatula on the board, right? Rat can do a ton of stuff. This might end up being the wildest, craziest kids board we have, but not just yet. Not just yet. Definitely when the tome gets used, though.
Yeah, honestly, some players can be dizzy even just looking at this board state, right? With the tome plus a spatula plus generic items being built with the GA, there's so many different directions that this can go. It just depends on when a Rat wants to go searching. That is the key. What are we going to be searching for? Do we hit that? If not, what's going to be, option number 2? What's option number 3? Which one do we find first? There's a lot of options here. And a Rat just has, a decent start to this. It's not like he's plummeting in HP. 84 is fine for being at 3-2. Can level to 6, and this could be a roll down. I actually wouldn't be surprised if it is. And yeah, there we go. Kog'Maw 2 is interesting. No Kog'Maw items though, but a Rat's pausing to think.
Because we could mutant spat somebody. We could at this point because of the Malzahar, but we are gonna flip by. Don't get caught. Sometimes those are red herrings when you see those packs like that, right? Even sometimes if there are 3 tier 4 units in a pack, sometimes just don't get it because you don't need it. And we decided that we didn't want to go the mutant direction this time around, and we're actually at a pretty good HP level for being so generic and vanilla right now. Not again to say that vanilla is bad, but at this point you're starting to see those sprinkles get put on that sundae. But this actually might end up being a little bit of a win there, as Quail just not doing enough damage, keeping those items on the board still as we go into our second augment.
Another item slam kind of differential there. Rat takes that one, and we get offered some more augments. Payday, is running syndicates, but probably not as strong as you would like to be to take that. So it's just going to go for the Exiles plus the weak spot. Make sure to spread these units now, so they will be benefiting from the shields.
Okay, so we have another really nice... our HP is very high for the comp that we have on the board at the moment, especially since going around the rest of the convergence, it doesn't seem like these comps are all too weak. We've got good tier 2 units, we've got emblems on the board at the moment. Syndicate Blitzcrank has given me a little bit of a laugh, but the overarching theme here is that there's a lot of raw damage, and again, a GA Darius is gonna overperform occasionally, right? We get that ult with that sliver of HP, say we're around 2 or 3 people, we're going to regenerate a ton of that health and be the tank of 2 units, for example. But we do need a little bit of help there. This is going to help with the Exiles as well, so we're going to get a little bit more time, and the Blitzcrank can pull literally anybody from this team. Rat does not care, because we're already overachieving, not just with the Darius, but with the rest of the comp, as the Syndicate buff seems to be doing wonders right now.
Yeah, even gets that spinoff actually to get a bit of healing there. Forces the Tristana to use an extra ultimate to put the Darius in the GA state. He resurrects, and like you said, Boop.
That's a tier 3.
And like you said, Boop.
And like I said,
win.
Yep. Don't ever wait for it. Like I said, the entire time with no doubt whatsoever and complete intention. Physics
There it
lost.
is. It's the intention. It really is. That's a great lesson to take. Um, Very intentional about the Yordle committal direction there, it seemed like, from Pikachu. But that's also the reason why they're at 35 HP, with still 2 more rounds to go until Wolves, and only 4 Tristanas. Definitely not the best Yordle position I've ever seen. Needs to have a lot more Tristana items and a better front line to be able to justify that composition, I think.
All right, we're moving back over to Jerry Woo. 39 gold. We're definitely going to be hitting that econ, but what's going to be hitting our board, we do have our quad bruisers, and we have started to lose. Once bruisers start losing, it's pretty tough to get them to win again without doing a ton with your board. So we only need the one other bruiser here to get bruiser 2, but we can stay bruiser 4 and put maybe 4 snipers around it, for example. Or like you said, the Jinx can get behind the bruisers just fine as well. But yeah, this should get a couple units down, depending on the matchup. This matchup is going to be moderately lucky. The Exile buff is going to help out, but we know that Tome's still hanging out there. The board across the way has not changed at all since we left.
Yeah, and I thought this would have been the round that it would, commit to something there for a rat, but I suppose not. I thought the carousel item might have influenced, where we go for that spatula. But hey, you can still hang on for a bit longer, even though this round, oh wow, it's actually gonna end up being, okay, what is it gonna be? TF the cards! Round win for
Just like I said the whole time, Twisted Fate was gonna win that round no matter what. Good unit, especially if you're getting that kind of value around 3-5 with any 1-cost unit, just tier 2 like that. That feels great. And that means that we're going to continue our loss streak, which is actually okay here for Jerry. So we're going to, if we lose again, we're going to get that full streak going into our PvE round. And that's going to give us a good opportunity to roll down here around 4-1, potentially.
Jerry Woo also did something very interesting last round. It was selling the Echo that is still able to utilize Umbrellas extremely well, but chose to sell it to put it on the Lissandra too. It would have given Scrap over, which could have made use out of that cloak for a little bit longer, but just values this Lissandra power being a tier 2 unit. And I think even though Jerry Wood lost that last round, I do think it's correct to make the strongest board possible. And we see it's still going to be pretty strong into at least a common Quails board. But both players, level 6, 50 gold, want to go to 7, stabilize, and maybe push level 8, but I think the person most likely to push 8 perhaps is Chewy, who is still at 100 HP on a win streak. That is very different than what we saw last game, and we can infer from that Zac 2 upgrade that they're probably playing some kind of bruiser, maybe wanting to go the path of Urgot and Jinx a bit later on.
Hit 50 gold going into this ground regardless, so not needing the full streak coming in here. So Jerry going to be resetting at round 4-1 pretty much, and we're going to hoard as much gold as possible. Any gold over 50 at this point is just amazing, and it's going to be a little bit more valuable and give us a little bit more flexibility on the upcoming roll down, which looks like should be around 65 gold, 64.
Just 1 gold off, Boop. You almost... he said around. I'll give you some slack for that one.
Thank you. Thanks, Mom.
Math is hard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that. You're brave.
And so we're actually not going to roll down here. We're pretty strong regardless. So why not? Let's see if we can greed out and get back to 50 gold and roll down a little bit later.
Yeah, I think this board with the Trundle 2, now having the Runeans, plus the Lissandra Morellos, is strong enough to go level 8. I think Jerry Woo can potentially get punished here. But probably not by this board from Pikachu. It's still a Tristana 2. She does have 3 items now between the Rage Blade, Last Whisper, and Hodge, which is solid, but their units are all clumps. So Lissandra is getting infinite value. The Trundle's going to res from GA, and yeah, this round is going to be a 5-0 here. Pikachu now going to be feeling the pressure, and is still on, it's only on 30 gold, and still 2 Tristanas away, it looks like. A bit rough, bit rough.
We did win a round earlier, so we were able to stave off the bleeding, and that's probably going to equal an extra round or two a little later. Sometimes at 1 round's the difference between getting 8th and 1st. Sometimes with some of these
Yeah.
hyper scaling builds that something like Pikachu has, like the Tristana now at tier 3. Sunny Shore hitting those snipers now. Tier 2 Misfortune. Wonder if we're cashing out maybe if we go back over there. At Lulu 2 now for Pikachu, so a lot of upgrades there. We have a Jewel Gauntlet on the bench as long and a Reforger, but we just saw Gen 3 do poorly. I'd probably get scared off of Jin at this point, just in general. And so because of what I just saw, but Quail not me making the better move most likely, and this is actually going to be a pretty friendly matchup for the Jin as everyone lines up in a diagonal.
Yeah, labs are pretty good.
Yep, should be.
Jin.
No, should be.
If Jin, he might actually lose this round. Alawi gets the ultimate, gets the auto, and yeah, Common Quail. He's gonna be losing that one. Oh man, I wonder what Quail's options were when he picked the Scrap Heart. Because that's not really giving any value to this board. It's going to be buffing up the Blitzcrank with a bit of a shield, but no items from the Blitzcrank. It's not even going to be getting the item completion there. I guess Common Quail thought, hey, Gen 2 is good enough to stabilize, good enough to win these rounds in Stage 4. And it nearly was. But did fall short by a little bit last round, which is disappointing.
The units that we have aren't necessarily going to be mad benefiting from the 4 Scholar too, especially since Jin doesn't develop mana during that ultimate, but the rest of the board shall feel pretty good about it. And this Lissandra hasn't been facing some of the clumped up boards that we saw before as we're going up against our 100 HP board, which is the Kog'Maw, or the Pogma, as I like to say. This, again, Jin is not, it's not like the Jin's not getting an opportunity to start popping off. It's just it's popping off too late.
Yeah, even with the 4 Scholars giving the mana, it's not enough. That CC from the Zac was enough to allow the that Pogma and Kaisa still live, and Chewy still win streaking 100 HP, and it's due to that Kog'Maw with not perfect items, but enough to be the strongest board throughout the whole game until now.
Yeah, it has Static Shiv on it, and I think more and more people are starting, at lower levels of players, starting to get to that item. It's got pretty insane stats. Just not in stats like in terms of game, but in terms of when it shows up. It tends to show up in pretty good comps, that and Shroud of Stillness along with Zephyr. But, the Shiv is a little bit more surprising there, in my opinion. So if the item presents itself and you have the opportunity to build it and you have that Kog'Maw, for example, that seems to be a pretty good opportunity, as that's going to be a last whisper most likely going on to the Jin. Or are we going to reforge our large rod for an IE?
Potentially, I think reforging for a potential IE is going to be nice. We'll catch what item is on that a bit later. As we move on over to Young Plum, who has the 5 Syndicates, has 4 Bodyguards as well for a solid front line. Throwing I'll say a random Lissandra in there as well, giving the Scholar bonus is decent. Building the GA, like this is AP flex at its core with these items. The GA, the Archangels, and the Morellos perfectly itemized on a TF in the early to mid game. And then once Young Plum rolls it down a bit more with a bit more gold and finds Kaisa, Victor, Akali, whatever that might be, this board will turn into one that is going to be strong. It does probably want to be a Akali specifically because of this this kind of syndicate route that Young Plum is going. We'll see. 5 losses in a row. They haven't been by that many units, but the bleeding is happening.
Middle-aged Plum 31, Young Plum 13 is now starting to hemorrhage that HP, but seems like Chewy is doing more of the taking of the HP. Compared to the last lobby, where it was a little bit more even spread, which means there are people taking rounds from each other, the wins and losses were coming from all over the top 8, if you will. This one's going to be a lot more top-heavy, as Chewy, if you probably looked at a graph, has probably taken the most HP out of the lobby. Future spectate mode, I hopefully has that. I'd love to see that stat.
That'd be such good,
right? Just to kind of see how much HP was taken, and because sometimes that person might get 8th, right? And that would be a really cool way of seeing things, because you might be taking a ton of HP, especially in the mid game, like in cat comps, but not winning. maybe that'll tell us why. But we're starting to finish out our comps now. Once we hit 5-1, that's when we really want to get our, feet into the sand. We don't want to be nudged away from anything at that point. This is a great start. Or great mid to potentially great end here for Young Plum, but we got to get some of these units to tier 2 or else it's going to be a shorter night again.
Yeah, the start was definitely good. It's the mid game that's suffering a little bit. This TF, hopefully the cards are good here, but doesn't even get another ultimate off. Okay, kills 2 more. That is acceptable. An acceptable loss at that point. 26 HP is still going to be like 2 lives left, almost guaranteed. Probably guaranteed in stage 5. Not a lot of gold though. Scion on the bench, Fiora's on the bench, holding a lot of different things. I wonder why Young Plum's kind of holding all of this, because it's going to be impossible to transition into a lot of it. Maybe... I actually don't know. I mean, we'll see this round what Young Plum's going to do. Sells the TF, so something has to happen here.
Not this round in particular, but next round,
yeah,
100%. We have the tome as well. I probably would have used the tome this round just to give me less decisions to make on the next one, because we have seen that destroy an entire board before, where people go into round 4-1 with a lot to do. They don't finish it, and they take 2 whole rounds to get there, and they don't even have enough HP to win the 3rd round. And we're going to get all of our stuff onto the bench now, as we get the Kaisa, we get the Fiora 2. That's really nice.
Yeah, Fiora 2 with the Kaisa, both being challengers, and even Jonatu as well. I mean, these upgrades are real big right now. Gonna be selling most of the syndicates, saying, okay, I had the syndicate heart earlier, that got me to this point, but it's even selling the Shakos now. We can see the commit to the Kaisa. And even the items that were dropped for Young Plum from the Raptors were very, very good. I'm going to be able to make an IE out of it, or potentially could have made an IE out of it for an Akali. That's not going to be the case, at least right now, so they'll remain... okay, they're going to be a Shojin's. Plus
thanks, Augment, for giving me...
Yeah, give us some time, but it's a broken stopwatch. Jin's going crazy.
Yeah, but so I picked broken stopwatch the other day because I was like, oh, I've never used this before, and then forgot to play Clockworks, and then so I was literally, yeah, I was playing Jin, and I was like, oh, Jin's doing stuff. What's happening? Well, maybe you need another part of your team. 2 Clockworks might not be enough. Definitely the second Clockworks Camille, and not Oriana. But anyway, enough about me and more about Young Plum, who is diving out of here, unfortunately, along with Pikachu, who had a rough go of it with Yordles. Yeah. You know, just because we haven't seen Yordles doesn't mean we need to see them. As it is going to be the Clapio. It's not dead here, folks. Jerry Woo on fire, by the way. Socialite Hex for the Galio, 3 Socialite, 2 Colossus, 2 Bruiser. And looking at these augments, we've got Titanic Force. So Clapio is here.
Clapio is here. Let's see what he can get done. Colossus here, Socialites are here, a tier 2 Galio. That's about all you need for this comp, besides maybe an IE to make sure the Clapio actually claps. That's probably a pretty important part of the formula, but no more item components can be granted. So has to potentially wait for the Carousel or get lucky on the Dragon round. Will be enough versus Chewy. Chewy has started to lose some rounds, finally. This Kog'Maw with this scuffed item build is not going to win a lobby. We need to transition over to something else, but Chewy's probably going to go 9 before that happens. Like, Kog'Maw was still so up in the air for so long. The Clapio's probably going to win this round.
Yeah, it reminds me of when if you've had the pleasure of going on a trampoline and like while your friend's able to boost you, right? Like there's that like perfect spot where you guys jump together and you go way higher. That's what it feels like, as it is like a trampoline park when Galio and Scion are on the board, and they're all going to be doing a ton of damage. And so this just goes to show that Clapio needed a nerf and that he's not dead. No, this is a top 4 comp.
Oh yeah, at least a top 4. It could be even more. As well, as soon as these upgrades come through, right? We have a pair of Scions waiting to be tiered up. Needs to get the Taric and the Seraphine up to tier 2 as well. Doesn't even need this Vi, and this Vi could be something else later. But I think Jerry was going to be pushing for 9 here on an 8 win streak currently.
Yeah, and extra bodies for this team in particular is just so valuable. And this is probably where the broken stopwatch augment becomes the most valuable, as apparently units have different flight times when it comes to the Galio ultimate. Some were a little bit delayed their landing, but with the Galio being able to do its job in this situation, it's CC, it's AD, having just an extra body is really nice. But that clockwork augment made it so the one thing other than Zephyr that can CC a Colossus was actually able to stop them. And you actually saw how important that was in terms of that round, because that wasn't even close. Yeah. Clockworks had no problem with that team comp that was on fire. We lost almost 20 HP that round.
Yeah, those Jin shots were perfect with the stopwatch timing. Did not allow Galio to do pretty much anything. He did get the ulti off, but that's it. Settles for a Giant Slayer for the pseudo Clapio here. Not going to be full clap in every single auto because not 100% crit. But we're, part of the way there. Sunny Shore did also go out in 6th. Was the winner of last round, but not able to continue it on. Scion gets upgraded, level 9 is achieved, the Janna goes in. This board is a lot stronger than last round, but is it going to be enough to go up against a rat? It looks like it will be.
Zephyr goes on to the Seraphine. That's not the worst deal, especially since it's the Colossi that we need to get going. We're going to get going anyway, especially with the GA. And... Those flight times seem mad inconsistent. Just put that out there. But we'll see if that's intentional. But look at all of that damage. And really that augment, that Titanic Force augment, which is a certain percentage of their HP over 1400 HP is converted to attack damage. Oh, it's probably Galio and Scion combining their ults together. That's what's happening.
Right.
But, oh, and this is one of those... unfortunate situations. This is a Yuumi bug. Basically, this is an unfortunate situation, as that's going to count as a draw.
Like little ghost Yuumi there. It's always Yuumi's making everyone upset on the Rift here in TFT.
There's a specific...
Delete Yuumi. Hashtag delete. No,
there's a specific moment with Yuumi where if you kill the unit she's attached to, like as she's casting to go to another unit or come off of that unit, she can get stuck. So we saw it, though, we're 2 lobbies in, and that's the only round we've seen it so far, so hopefully that'll be the only time we see it so far. Is this Seraphine is here for a little bit more damage than support.
Yeah, not able to get the Zeke's value of this Yuumi, though, not moving that over, and it might have made a difference when it comes to this Victor. But broken stopwatch is coming through, the Victor is dodging, it gets to ulti before even the GA state, and it does not take the Jin into GA either. Maybe the second ultimate can, but Victor's GA was procced first. Uh-oh, another ult is going to pop up. The shots aren't hitting the Victor, though, but the CC from the Yuumi does it. A rat falls in the round, drops to 6 HP. Uh-oh. A rat might be bottom 4ing this game.
For the first time in what feels like forever, it's going to be an IE, which is the item that we did not want to see for our team comp. There's a lot of AP there. We even have Arcana spats and Academy spats, so this really isn't going to be helping that many people. Who are you even going to put it on? Probably Lux or Seraphine.
Yeah, Lux
probably.
And maybe if you swipe to Carousel, you get a Jeweled Gauntlet, and then you have, all of a sudden you have best in slot Lux, totally gonna get to totally gonna one, get to the carousel, 2, get the specific item. I'm sure that'll all pan out.
And once again, Quail having a little bit of a harder start, getting a little bit of extra help. Not extra help, getting a little bit of top 4 action coming through as Rat actually gets that tier 2 Lux. Upgrades everywhere else as Kuzma is doing the flip-flop here from 8 to 1, and that's an Urgot 3. Last time we saw a tier 3 unit, it got 4th place, though. A tier 3 4-cost unit. I think Urgot's going to be a little bit more consistent than Jin, especially with those items. Woo-wee! That's going to be pretty tough. But the CC, for example, from the Scion Galio might be enough to take it down. This is a tier 2 Kaisa on the other side. That was the
Kog'Maw. Yep. Once a Kog'Maw, now a Kaisa. A bit of an upgrade there, of course, but still against broken stopwatch. It's going to stop her, in her tracks, and then the Yuumi ultimate will follow up. Jin trying to take her out. Oh, actually, that missed. Kai'Sa's dodging everything,
Oh my
unless it's going to be that specific shot from Jin.
Woo!
But Kai'Sa, killing the Kai'Sa, did get a common quail, a top 4 opportunity, and perhaps potentially more. 1 HP in the Dream, like, up against, what, 32 HP Jerry Wu, 53 from Chewy, and 67 from Kuzma. Common quail's probably just getting a 4th here.
Yeah, we're going to be here for a bit. Remember, this Jin was not the best-looking Jin a little while ago. And now to see it here, especially with the Last Whisper Giant Slayer, which is 2 of the, arguably best items. I think a lot of people like the IE there instead of the GA, but GA becoming a little bit more popular as we've seen it win rounds. I mean, in that round in particular, the GA missed the second Victor ult and gave us an opportunity to win on the second round, as we're moving over to the Clapio now, who has the Last Whisper, i.e. Runins.
Yeah, and that's going to be... Okay, the Braum does get a bit of CC off. The Clapio on the back line alone. I mean, got the Jin into the GA state. Is going to need to get back to him a bit later with another ultimate going through. Yeah, he's going to kill off his Jin.
Is it enough?
Can't get through everything else, though.
I mean, we're giving it our old college try. The Seraphine ulted at that moment in time. Delia might have actually been okay, but Jerry Wu will fall. Whew. 1 HP in a Dream. Jerry gets the Janna. Probably would have won the round with that Janna too. In that situation, Chewy 35, so 33 HP, 67. So we have a complete swap. 7th and 8th from last lobby, or in 1st or 2nd this lobby. I love to see it. Love to see that.
Oh yeah, it's just trading blow for blow. These players saying, all right, game number 1 was a fluke. You shouldn't count me out that quickly. Kuzma, Urgot 3, definitely a lobby winning kind of board. The Common Quail just trying to scrape out a 3rd, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it here against this Urgot.
All right, so far not doing much. In all of the ults actually missed the Urgot, which is very unfortunate. That is literally what we saw here was worst case scenario for Common Quail, as the Clockwork augment along with the Jin do literally nothing, and the Urgot's going to be able to take the dub there. Jerry Wu with Clapio, top 4 comp, like we predicted. It's going to be the battle of last lobby's 7th and 8th for 1st and 2nd. This time around, Kuzma this time trying to do the 100% 100% speed run now against Chewy.
Yep, Kuzma grabbing the Zizirot. Looks like Chewy grabbed the Bloodthirster, gets a Braum 2. Kuzma still has 20 gold in the bank. Can still roll to find more upgrades, right? Jace 2, Jinx 2, Yuumi 2, Janna, all upgrades that are on the line here. Repositioning as well, wanting to make sure Urgot is in the best position possible. And last round was a almost perfect position for the Urgot too. So Kuzma recognizing where these repositions want to go to. He's gonna do it again. Goes to far left side.
Double redemption on the Mundo, so everyone like Victor is actually going to be doing less damage to everything that redemption tags. The Enforcer is going to be very, very helpful, but the difference between Jin and Urgot, as you can see here, in terms of tier 3 units, is Urgot's got some HP to work with, and it doesn't even matter because it didn't even get there in time. Once the Urgot ulted, it was over. I don't really see this Urgot falling. We are going to get 2nd place Chewy most likely, but we still have a whole other round to go, along with potentially round 7, depending if Chewy's able to knock this one out somehow.
Yep. Still more gold to roll. Found a Jace too. I believe Chewy took 16 damage in the last round. If we take 16 or less again, then we do go into stage 7. Not sure it's going to be enough though. Kuzma repositioning the Urgot into the top right corner. I think he's just going for the killing blow here with that Urgot positioning.
The killing blow, finish him. Ooh, a lot of CC though, but even with the GA, I don't.
Oh.
Ooh.
J-State did proc.
Oh, and that is why GA is good, friends. It's so funny you stare so much at the Urgot 3 while the rest of the team is actually crushing it. It doesn't necessarily need it, as the Urgot takes a lot of those cooldowns, but that comp wasn't just necessarily an Urgot comp, and it ends up winning the lobby regardless.
Wins the lobby. Turns out you shouldn't just write off your tier 3, 4 cost units as ones that only will get fourth. They can get a first place indeed. Let's go ahead and look at the scores over the past 2 games, and they are very close, which I think we expected, given the fact that the bottom 2 last game were vying for the top 2. And it's going to be Common Quail and Jerry Wu, actually. Neither player is taking firsts, but both getting top 4 both games in a row. Going to be at 14 points. Sunny Shore at 13, Kuzma with 12, Rat at 10, Chewy at 9, Young Plum at 6, and Pikachu with a 4-point total right now, Boop. What are you thinking about the past couple of games so far? What are you expecting to see when we do come back for the final 2?
I think I'm expecting to see a Pikachu Young Plum first, second, and then a Jerry Quill, Common Quail seventh, eighth, and see just what that looks like, because that'd be absolutely insane and wonderful for a day like today. So it's probably going to be even closer. So when a game is close like this third lobby becomes extra important. It's usually a lobby where players solidify their leads or try to claw back, but now, I mean, everyone's still kind of playing the same game. So if you're in sixth, seventh, eighth, yeah, you got to perform here. But if the other players perform well and you get first as well, you're still not going to get eliminated from a contention, especially since we had that flip flop happen. So whenever the flip flop happens, you're in for a close day of points. That's usually, going hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely a close, intense day of games thus far, and it's going to remain to be the case when we do come back from our break. We'll be going on a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Fight Night Rising brought to you by Wisdom. Welcome back, everyone, to Fight Night Rising. Two games we have seen, and they've been very, very back and forth, Boop, but we still have two more left to go. And honestly, everyone's still in contention of winning this week. No one is out, not even our eighth place player. Pikachu had a rough last game, but with a couple of, first back-to-back, or even just a couple of, top four placements, you can certainly see these scores shuffle all which way around once again.
Oh, 130,000%. I mean,
It's a
in the
big
first
percent.
lobby, thanks, Quan, appreciate you. In the in the first lobby, we had a couple players finish first, second, and then those same players in the second lobby finished seventh and eighth, and the players who finished seventh and eighth in the first lobby finished first and second in the second one. So if things run true, we're in for another pretty intense night of TFT, and that's exactly why we're all here. But in terms of play, anyone that you're particularly impressed by so far this first half?
I will say, I want to say Jerry Wu, actually. Jerry Wu is the player who I had my eyes on last week a little bit, but I wanted to, have my eyes on them more so this week just because they're able to get into the top three of a lobby that was pretty stacked last week with players like, Uakar and Putix coming back, ones that are, I don't want to say fight not like veterans, but definitely no stranger to the competitive scene. Being able to get a top three in that lobby, as powerful as that one, is no small feat, and they're kind of living up to the potential. I think double thirds back to back is rather solid. The consistency is something that we're lacking in this lobby so far for placement. So
Consistency
a
is the
couple of players,
inconsistency, right?
yeah, basically only a couple of players being able to claim a title of consistent with a common Quill and Jerry Wu, but definitely Jerry Wu for me. But what about yourself, Boop? Any ones that besides Jerry Wu that you're considering
You took
keeping your
mine.
eyes on?
It was actually
I
mine
took
was
yours.
Jerry. Yeah,
Oh wow.
Jerry. Jerry's actually played a couple different things and been pretty flexible throughout the last couple weeks, and I've been pretty impressed by it, just in general, because there aren't a lot of people who, in just 2 weeks, have shown us that they can play from behind, they can play from ahead, they can play, a variety of different comps, and they can play Clapio. So I'm gonna go ahead
True.
and just say Jerry Wu there, but also Kuzma, going from seventh to first, and then Chewy going from eighth to second there into the second lobby. A lot of people develop these self-fulfilling prophecies where they get seventh or eighth in the first lobby and it's over, right? Their
Yep.
mental shot and it's over, and they just kind of stop trying as we go through the rest of the lobbies, and that just wasn't the case. And because of that, we have a great day of games, and they all still have a chance of. And because of that, too, the whole lobby has a chance of still winning the whole thing. So the whole lobby can thank them for that as well.
Yeah. It's always, you want to keep your head in the game. You want to stay focused. Starting off the day with an eighth can be mentally dooming. But actually, oftentimes, like you see the stories, right? It happens so often. If a player has a good mental, tries to reset as much as possible, they actually have a good rest of the few games, and they're able to, make it forward either to the next day or first or a top three in a fight night. And it feels very rewarding when you are able to do that. Let's go ahead and get on into game number three with a common Quail, who's currently tied for the lead in points along with Jerry Wu.
Okay, so now that we're going into our lobby, let's go ahead and see who we're riding along with. It's going to be a common quail. All quails are pretty common, also very tasty. I don't know if you've ever had quail before.
I have actually, not too long ago. It was super good. It
Yeah,
was
quail
like,
eggs also very cute and very
ooh,
tasty.
haven't had those.
Yeah, they're usually at fancy restaurants when like an egg is too much, but they still want you to have the egg experience, if you will.
Yeah.
As now common quail, the human version, probably not as tasty. Now going to put some innovators onto the board.
Innovators into the board does have the Zillion for third innovator, but has a Shaco as well. Again, I don't think last game we saw any Shaco committals. But is an option. Sword right now is a good Shaco item. IE, GA is solid as well. We get a bit more gold. Actually, that's 8 gold that we've gotten so far. 5 from the Shaco Zillion and 3 right there. Let's move on over to Young Plum. 13. Still not a middle-aged Plum Boop. We'll have to wait a little bit for that one. But gets the rework Spellblade, Shrug It Off, or Celestial Blessing.
Yeah, and so which one are we going to be going with? A lot of people picking Shrug It Off today. We'll see. Oh, first Rich Gets Richer that we actually have picked.
Ooh,
Spellblade, I think, is good idea. I haven't found a lot of success with it thus far. But these players are a lot better. So we're going to go ahead and pick Celestial Blessing. You know, if you're ever in a situation where you truly don't know and there's 3 choices and you're having a hard time, pick the one that affects your team always, right? So something like Celestial Blessing is always going to be valuable. It might not be the most valuable out of those 3 choices, but, you know, your second augment might make those other 2 choices less valuable, where this is always going to maintain its value. And so that's always going to be nice. As we have a little bit of celebration with Singe. That was hilarious to me. The creeps getting thrown in like a rainbow formation, but you know, we'll have to ask more for rainbows next time. For Singe, every time he throws, there needs to be like a rainbow crest following
rainbows for Singe.
I know it's not.
Does he have a skin that I was gonna say? Does he have a skin that it lines up with? I don't know. I don't remember. Make it happen either way. Develop a skin line. I'm sure they have the resources.
TFT skin line, right? Silco. Comment.
True.
Going to be making an appearance here.
It's only a matter of time before we start talking about Arcane.
I know, right? It's so good. Anyway, Young Plum 13 now, running the double twitch, a little twitchy, at the moment, and that means that we're definitely gonna be attempting to loss streak here, but the twitch does take down a unit, so we're actually getting a little bit of a deal here.
Almost. Double rats, not the best, especially compared with the Camille, but it's usually when you run 3 units that are all, 1 cost, you're going to be making gold, but not going to be doing that one either. Young Plum just holding a bunch of units on the bench. Do hit the grave, so this could be a bit of a reroll. We have a Blitz in here, we have a Garen, no Cassidans, no Caitlyn's, no Kog'Maws. Okay, and an Archangel Slam, actually, so this probably won't be a reroll composition. It's just going to be Graves as the item holder.
Yeah, so that was looking like a potential reroll comp, maybe even a Protector reroll. Protector Graves is very good if you want to have a fun Protector spat, i.e. on a Caitlyn there, as we get some scouting going. And Young Plum will... let us look at a Talon 2 at 2-2. That will not lose.
No.
To anything until probably Krugs, and maybe after that we're probably going to streak, but it's not just Talon 2. That is a Singe 2 and Twitch 2. So we're going to see Rat on Fire here in a second. Definitely, I am almost willing to guarantee that we're going to see Rat on Fire unless someone else is just as strong. But that doesn't seem to be the case thus far, as Kuzma and Young Plum are most likely going to be picking on this first carousel first. Full bench here, though, for Young Plum, and a lot of pairs.
Yeah. A lot of pairs, not hitting any of them. Innovator. Need to get online. Also, I believe it was Pikachu hit an upgrade that was a Warwick 2 that might be able to match the power of a Rat's board. I would need a couple other units as well besides for just the Warwick. Okay, a Rat levels to 5 here. Yeah, Rat's going for that, this is where it's gonna be nice, or would be nice, to have that stat screen to see how much damage a single player will do, because the Rat's gonna be just wiping boards right now. A Young Plum already had to face the wrath of a Rat, so now gets to go up against Common Quail. Other players certainly not gonna be happy about it.
The whole lobby actually gets faster because of a comp like Rats, where something is just so overwhelmingly strong that at the early game it's not faster because it's winning in time in terms of time. It's faster because when it wins, it's winning by 4-0s and 5-0s in the early game, which a lot of the time they can split it, and a lot of these players are really good at losing by 1 or 2 units, for example, and that's just not going to happen against Rat's team right now, unless maybe someone like Jerry is having a good time as well, but that's still a very, very strong team there with the Talon 2. As we're moving on over to Sunny Shore, who made the lobby Sunny Shore and then became a little Sunny Shore themselves in the second lobby, trying to make it a little bit more sunny around here for Sunny Shore, who sells seashells by the seashore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a lot of S syllables, that's a lot of shores, a lot of sun. Too much sun. That's why I stay inside all day. I avoid the sun at all costs.
Don't mess with my son or me ever again. As we have a spatula here. Let's see where this is going to go. Makeshift armor is going to be our augment, so we're trying to stack our units right now. Our
Yep.
Camille and our Ezreal not going to get the extra boost, but everyone else is, and that's really nice, especially with the units like at tier 1, having that makeshift armor can steal a unit or two at times, as Chewie has some beef right now. Not Chewbacca beef, don't worry. Chewie, though, is got that Caitlyn in the back line, but there's a lot. This makeshift armor might be the difference maker along with that Thorn Mail. One item, man. All you need for any early game IE holder is that Thorn Mail, and you're probably going to win that round.
Yeah, it is going to be pretty good. Bramble Vest negating the crits. Caitlyn stuck on the Camille for the whole time. She shields herself as well, so it's just doomed the whole way through. Can even sell this Camille on the bench. Don't really need that. If Sunny Shore loses to make 20 gold, Nico's help is also on this bench, as well as a spatula. So Sunny Shore has a lot of potential mid-game and late-game power spikes that can happen there. Maybe Sunny Shore streaks all the way up until a fast 8. Can find something like an Akali or a Kaisa, and then use the spatula at that point to then get a synergy for those units respectively. That'd be a pretty good board.
Remember that TFT is a game of opportunity and choice, right? Your
Mhm.
items and your units give you opportunities, and it's up to you to make the right choice, right? One path is going to be a 65%, another is going to be an 80, and maybe the third path is just 83%, right? But that 3% is what you need to get a top 4. So when you're presented with opportunities, you have to develop the context or already have it, and then make the right choice for that portion of the game, and not just that portion of the game, but for what's happening a little bit later as well, as this is going to be a win here for Sunny Shore. But I say that because you need to present yourself with opportunities in order to get there, and this board by Rat actually lost against Jerry Wu. So Wu is going to make it to Krugs without it. What's up, Crowan?
Yeah, I was going to say, Rat scouted Jerry Wu's board, and it was a Talon 2 as well, but also a Warwick 2. So when you have multiple 2-cost carries tier 2, then that's even better. A lot of high rollers this lobby. It turns out when you are the lowest of the high rollers, it feels doubly worse. At least a Rat's able to make 30 gold, have some flexible, at least AD flexible items. Shouldn't be too upset about this position.
Welcome to the middle class, Rat.
Yeah,
as you're looking up at the 1% right now. Jerry,
like, man, I thought I was well off, but they've taken a whole another level.
You know, it's a phrase, like there's always someone with more money than you, right? And it's like no matter what peak you reach, there's always someone else's peak that's a little higher than yours, and that's what Rat and Jerry got to find out. They were both on fire, and if they didn't face each other, there is a real possibility that they actually both enter 3-1 at 100 HP. But the game said no. We're only going to give Jerry that streak. So Rat is going to reset that economy streak now. I might go ahead and 50-50 this round, but we do have another tier 2 Warwick, and the tier 2 Talon not looking as strong at the moment, but the Sunfire board along with the Talon means that this is kind of like a DOT, damage over time type of board. You're not going to see it up front, but this is your kind of budget Malzahar that you're seeing there with the Talon.
Also, this round means that a Rat lost to not Jerry Wu, because then they wouldn't have been able to face here on 3-1.
Oh, yeah, true. We just assumed because they were both on fire.
Yeah. Who did a Rat face? There's so many high rollers in this lobby, actually. Maybe it was... I saw someone earlier get the Warwick too. I think it was Pikachu. So Pikachu might have been the one that beat a Rat. I don't know. We'll have to check in a bit later. But for now, Young Plum... see the AP items on the Lysandra, Shojin's Archangels, plus a spare rod. Got a Heimerdinger in here as well as some innovators, making sure that Crab is in the front line tanking. Or Scarab, I suppose, technically.
Yeah, Lysandra hitting up the front line. One of the only AP casters that can legitimately just kind of hang out up there without a GA. And so Lysandra should be able to get to those casts. Can GA herself if necessary, but sometimes that locks you up so you don't do enough damage and don't get to your other ultimate fast enough. This one's going to be interesting because Shojin's along with Archangels feels a little counterintuitive. It is in the early game, but once we do hit like this moment right here at 15 seconds, we've already gotten 3 stacks of that Archangels. We're feeling pretty good. So we're not only getting a ton of ults off just in general, we're getting more ults as we get stronger too. So adding that kind of mid-range ult is going to take away some units that normally wouldn't have been able to be taken off the field. As we have three augments, don't we?
We do indeed have three
Yeah.
augments, three that are pretty specific. At least they're going to end up being, I guess the least specific one is the Tome of Traits, where you can pick between four different options, of course. Scholar, Socialite, probably going to be the ones that Young Plum picks between. Socialite is going to be the one that is most flexible. And that seems to be the trend, right? Young Plum picked the Celestial Blessing to be flexible, pick Socialite to be flexible. You can make any carry work with it. And this Socialite Hex is still solid for a lot of different carries.
Oh yeah, totally. That's one of the better hexes because you can put a range carry up there, right?
Yeah.
You can keep people safe. Although that was a Draven spot last set. So, same kind of concept, but this is going to be nice and lovely for the Lissandra because we're going to get even more ultimates with that double Socialite. We have help with the Innovator too, so we have an extra unit to keep this Lissandra nice and safe. However, it's going to be put in a little bit of a vulnerable position. Singe going to make this ultimate potentially very strong, but we got to get rid of that Echo first. And the Echo gets ulted, and that is not best case scenario, but is good enough case scenario potentially, as this is the lobby of Lissandra. This is the third Lissandra we're seeing on Common Quail's board.
Yeah, Lissandra's a wonderful mid-game carry, as we're seeing here. She does a ton of damage. She carries the AP items well. Her synergies are even solid in the early game as well, but I guess specifically Scholar, because these early game fights often last a long time. So the Scholar is able to get a lot of value there. That's why Lissandra casts, like, what, 4 or 5 times per fight at some points. Young Plum picks first, does grab a vest, but Kuzma's down at 36 HP.
36 HP. Started off pretty strong. At least in the second lobby. This lobby, though, having a little bit of a harder time. Man, polarizing player, huh? In terms of finishing first or eighth. Yeah.
Well, Young Plum has the chance to go up to perhaps 5 Innovator with that Seraphine pickup. Depends if they roll a little bit there or not. Jerry Wu, though, committing to this Warwick. Already has another Warwick 2 on the bench. Might be seeing a Warwick 3 happen. It's been a while since I think we've seen that, right?
It's been a very, very long time since we've seen that happen. Actually, no, we got to see it last week, and it did not perform well. So that's probably
maybe
why
that's
we don't
why
remember
I forget
it.
it.
Yeah, I think it got 5th or 6th. It did not have good itemization from what I remember. It was actually kind of awkward. I think there might have actually been a death cap on it.
Oh, okay. I do remember it now. I see.
Yeah.
The things that are like bad and don't work out, I actually just like delete from my brain, and I'm like, nah, it just didn't happen. But the things that like work out and get it first, I'm like, okay, I'll remember that.
That's how I deal with my relationships too. Wait, I mean, we're talking about TFT. Game 3 now, 88 HP for Jerry Wu. 4 Challenger, 3 Chemtech, pretty much unchanged, as Mort said, through a couple of these patches. We got a lot of gold and a trade sector. So we get that free roll and the gold and another Lissandra.
Nice. Lissandra is very flavor of the month, and for good reason. It's going to be 3 Chemtech as well, between the Zac, Warwick, and Lissandra. Still some solid buffs. Chemtech was changed a bit ago. So I believe it'll always last 8 seconds now. Just like the attack speed and the health, that is going to be changing between the 3, 5, 7 breakpoints. I don't think we'll see anyone get to 9 Chemtech. That's still probably a fake trait.
It's not real. It's a fake trait. I've seen it like once ever.
Yeah.
It kind of just has to happen, is what I've realized, right? Where driver's hypnosis is a thing, right? If you're old enough to drive, or when you're going to drive, it's a thing, right? Where the lines on the road all become kind of the same thing. You snap back and you're going 100 miles an hour, and you're like, oh, there's like no cars around. I had no idea I was going 100 miles an hour. Don't do that, folks. Always stay in control. And so same thing when it comes to TFT, right? You don't want to phase out. You don't want to get into that hypnotic state and start zombie rolling. You want to stay in control. Jerry Wu doing as much as possible right now to stay in control. And part of being in control here is Lissandra being able to wipe out a quarter of the health. We talk about butter, right? buttering them up is really good for someone else to take them down, right?
It indeed is. So talk about butter. I'm like, oh, I like butter. Butter's good. I like
Butter's
butter.
great.
Yeah, just butter on anything.
I love
Popcorn
me
have
some
extra
butter.
extra butter. Just oof,
Yeah,
that hits
movie
the
theater
spot.
butter, superior butter,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
flavored butter, brown sugar butter,
Wait,
right?
brown. Oh, I mean, okay, yeah, I've kind of had that before on some like breakfast kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
like
Basically, you just like
yeah.
cream the butter, put it at room temperature, put some cinnamon and sugar in it, cream it up, make it nice and fluffy, roll it back up in a
Ah,
log, put it in the fridge, and there you go. You got creamed butter. Put anything you want. Rosemary, thyme. I can't
you're
think of
making
any
me
other
hungry.
foods right now because I'm looking at a TFT game. Anyway, that's how you make creamed butter, folks. As Common
Oh, put that to
Quail,
good use.
maybe on Valentine's Day, my anniversary is coming up on the 21st. Maybe I make some butter.
True. I mean, I'd like some.
My
Can I be
husband's
your
probably going to make
Valentine,
some
boo?
steak. I'll make some like steak butter for it. That's what you call a partnership.
Certainly is. But back to the TFT board. Innovators scrap going on for Common Quail. Did get the Innovator emblem, I believe, from a tome. So the potential of a dragon is here. That's exciting stuff. Dragons can very much win games. If you're able to get a Jace carry online, Heimer already has some good items as well. Lissandra has some nice utility. This is yet another Lissandra with Morellos. I feel like almost everyone has one at this point.
It's just even at tier 1 it's ulting, right? So you're going to be able to tag as many people as possible for the Morellos, and this Lissandra is pretty strong. Even at tier 1 you've got the front row upgrade there, and you've got, if you get any kills, you get the reset. So not going to be helpful in that situation, but we do have a QSS static Shiv Warwick here, which is pretty scary, especially if the AP does get tier 2'd itself. So things like Lissandra get even stronger when a static Shiv is on the board.
Yep, 100%. This bear doing a lot of work as well for a Common Quail. Dipped a bit low in HP and still, losing rounds. We saw that last round. 40 HP. I still when I see 40 HP, I'm like, where's the Radiant Blessing, man? I want to see it, but it always disappoints me. Never happens.
Always disappoints me. There's so many jokes I want to say, but will refrain from.
Wow, the self-control there, Boop. I didn't expect that.
I know, I'm disappointed in myself. Anyway, 50 gold now for a Common Quail, 40 HP, like you said. Second or third Warwick here, as this is a Stand United Sunfire board comp across the way. And the Innovators need some help here, and it's going to get some from some CC. Oh, gets the double kill on the Zillion Bomb. Ooh, was that Bjergsen?
Oh, man. The Game 5 Bjergsen Zillion coming in. It always works out. Never disappoints. Common Quail, though. Middle of the pack HP. Look at the lobby HP here, Boop. Besides for Pikachu in first place, 2nd through 8th is only an 11 HP gap at 4-4. That is some of the closest that we will ever see.
Yeah, and look how little HP the bottom 7 have right now. And I'm going to call them the bottom 7 based on how well Pikachu is playing right now. And Pikachu was in what place last game?
It was down there at the bottom in ye old 8th place.
And where was Young
Plum? Oh, wait, it was Young? Oh my god. Young Plum was in 7th.
Yep, so
it's happening yet again.
It might be happening. I can't remember where my wallet is, but I do remember weird stats, Crowan.
You had set up this narrative, and I'm actually so disappointed that it just left my mind of the bottom 2 then getting top 2. It was a great call out, Booth. It's actually happening. This is insane.
So I wonder what Young Plum is running here. We haven't really gotten to see that, as Rat had a very good start, but seems to have cooled down a little bit. That's the thing, right? You can start off really strong, but if your comp never gets stronger, right, you might find yourself in a pretty similar position. Kaisa going to steal a couple units away. Just lose by 3. That was actually very, very nice. That could have been a 5-unit loss there.
That's a Kaisa too from Sunny Shore with still Nico's on the bench, right? And this is only stage 4.
I think he had 3 Nikos.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it. Sunny Shore hopefully will be getting it. Oh my god, the gap is even closer now, Boob. It's just a 10 HP gap. between 2nd and 8th. Bottom 7 indeed.
Yep, Young Plum now. Every HP matters now from a Common Quail and lower. Jerry Wu gets, I think, one of the most underrated 3-star units, which is Zach. The amount of CC that he provides, especially the way he provides it, it's the 2 furthest units away from him personally. So he can steal a backline unit pretty much as we get some crabs in. It's a little crab whale here for Rat. And where's the damage coming from? Well, it's coming from our challengers. It's going to be the Warwick, but for how long is that going to work out for?
Yeah, we compare the carries on multiple boards, and it's like a Warwick 2 at 2 items versus a Kaisa 2 with 2 best in slot items, and Urgot 2 with 3 full items. A Rat's board looks like, although they won the last round, they would get completely wiped by other boards here. The power disparity in this lobby is crazy.
Power disparity is the name of the game, I think, for this lobby. We didn't really see any of it in the first 2 lobbies, but as of right now, it is a battle royale from 7th, I guess from 1st to 8th now, as 1st is going to join the rest. And unfortunately for Pikachu, usually that kind of attrition is enough to top 4, but it seems like the bottom side of this leaderboard is starting to roar right back, as this is the closest lobby we'll see all day today.
Probably so. Jerry Wu, 6 losses in a row. That Zach 3 was not enough to stabilize. To level 6, still rolling. And there's so many Warwicks taken from the pool. This is still the same amount of Warwicks we saw Jerry Wu have over a stage ago. 5 Chemtech 4 challengers.
That's a long time, friends. As
long time.
We do finally get some good opportunities, right? Remember, opportunity meets choice, and as of right now, the opportunity has just been Zach, right? Which isn't the best choice, but we do have a couple more items, and I would probably cry a little bit here, as well with all those tiers. A lot of AP. And not a lot of AP on the field, unfortunately. But we could get up to our Lissandra. Getting a tier 2 Lissandra at this point is actually kind of lucky, seeing how the rest of the board is. The rest of the convergence is.
Yeah, you got to roll down to 0 in this spot. Hopefully find the Warwick 3. We found 2 Warwicks already. Need the 3rd to come through. Only 5 more seconds left in the preparation phase. Jerry Wu doesn't know what he's going to be selling here. That should have been a roll to 0, but it's not going to be. And Jerry Wu might lose some very much needed HP because of it. Isn't even able to make the full item before that Zach 3 gets Tom Kenched. And yeah, this is a 7-0, 6-0. It's a 6-0, but still, Jerry Wu is now on elimination point.
And what place was Jerry Wu coming into this?
Jerry Wu was tied for 1st.
Yep, okay, so it's happening. Quan is happening. Young Plum and Pikachu both could make me look like an absolute genius. We'll see what happens. It doesn't take much since I already am, but Jerry now looking
Humble
for that Urgot has the Quinn 3 Chemtech Quinn. That's actually pretty nice. Quinn, super annoying against units like Jinx, against units like Jin, for example. So now that we're at tier 3, we're gonna get that ult off, and that blind / disarm is gonna last for a bit. But at 4 HP, we got to be perfect. Literally perfect from here on out.
So, Boop, important question. Where's Warwick?
Warwick is in the Socialite Hex, right?
Yep, he is, but the Warwick 3 is nowhere to be seen.
Oh, there was no Socialite Hex. That was the Socialite Hex. Well, there were like a ton of Warwicks, man. You know, that was just like the one game in the world where going Warwick was a bad idea. It's like TFT players and streamers all have a little bit of a hive mind, and once one person says, I'm going to go Warwick, they all do.
Yeah. It's funny how it happens that way, but it does. And no one's going to be all the way up there in 1st place anymore with a huge lead. It's in fact going to be a Common Quail who's in 1st right now with a win streak, 5 win streak in fact, because 7 Innovator is here and is online. Love to see that one.
This means that we're gonna need some Last Whispers and Giant Slayers. We're definitely seeing them right now, as the Socialite Hex being used by almost everybody. So if you have a Shroud of Stillness, if you have something like a Zephyr, that's gonna make that Socialite Hex maybe a weakness at the end of the day. But this is gonna be a pretty big ult from the Dragon. What happens after is what's important.
Yeah, there's some great items here for a common Quail's board. Kuzma's board is strong though, so if it's going to be any board that contests it, is this one. The Seraphine's still alive, the Jace is as well, but not for much longer. Kuzma's Urgot. These are some good Urgot items, and Tom Kench is farming even more for him at this point.
Pikachu, what's going on, man? You
Yeah,
gotta make it back onto the top. You had such a big lead, so there are a couple comps that kind of scream, oh, I started off strong and I'm having a little bit of a hard time now. Assassins Without a Collie. It could be it sticking to Yordles. It could be it too. Maybe we're playing Warwick as well. But we actually haven't seen Pikachu up against anybody in a bit as well. So once we do find out where that comp is, we'll let you know.
For a sniper board from actually didn't catch who that was, but for sniper board nonetheless. And okay, here's the Kai'Sa board from a Sunny Shore. Jace with a BT and could just Nico it for a Jace too.
Is going to go ahead and do it. And thank goodness it's a great item for someone like Jace. Not just for the extra damage, but the shield is going to stack upon the regular shield that he's got. And we're going to be able to get that 660 shield, get low, help us get to another ultimate, get another 660 shield, potentially.
Yep. All right, Sunny Shore going up against Pikachu. Pikachu's items are definitely a bit lackluster, especially in the Urgot. Only a Shiv and a Quicksilver. That's probably why we're hemorrhaging so hard. Pikachu could end up going out here in 7th place after having such a huge lead. That might happen because this board's getting almost full wiped right now. Pikachu is going to be eliminated. It's just if anyone else drops even farther, Plum does.
So I looked cool for about 2 rounds, but other than that, I'll take it. I was on Cloud 9, and sometimes you never reach Cloud 9, right? I only got to Cloud 5 earlier, so I'm happy to be here, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll see you at the next award show. But the Kai'Sa now in the Socialite Hex is really starting to benefit, especially with that extra AP. The damage is really nice too, but getting to these ultimates is where you're going to get that Kai'Sa value. She always evenly spreads those missiles, so when less people are on the field, the more powerful she gets, along the lines of like Fiora, but Kai'Sa is the definition of that, right? It's just a substantial amount of damage that gets added on per unit advantage. So getting to the 2nd or 3rd ultimate is super, super important. And we kind of just saw this comp get destroyed. So let's see if Kuzma's going to do a little bit better now that we have a better itemized Urgot.
Yeah, this Urgot's going to be ripping through the board this time around. The Kai'Sa still has good potential, though, against it. If she gets one more ultimate off, could take down this Urgot. Let's see, she dashes away, gets him with it off. Urgot goes down. GA and the Hodge healing means that this will be a win for the Kai'Sa. Kuzma does survive, however. Did take down enough units that it wasn't a full wipe, and that is not the same for Pikachu. But Kuzma still survives, still looking for that top 4 because this lobby boop is so close still in HP.
So close, and that was just the difference between Urgot itemization, right? Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't, and the Urgot that we saw here did, and the Urgot we saw from Pikachu, unfortunately, did not even have that 3rd item available. So we're going to have to move on, potentially, from there as we get a Mutant Spat.
Mutant Spat?
Sunny Shore.
Potential. I mean, if we can fit another mutant in with the Kai'Sa, could be getting that buff online. Question is, what other mutant can we fit in if we're not level 9? We might need to go to level 9 before we actually get value out of that. Common Quail, on the other hand, is level 9. Does have 3 enchanters, 2 socialites. This board is about as capped as it's going to be. But here we go, Ezreal 2. That's the breaking point that we needed.
Quail going to have their potentially 3rd top 4 in a row. With the Dragon, I can almost feel like it's going to happen. That dragon is going to take down one of these teams. We'll see if it's going to be Kuzma, who has been able to upgrade to a Jinx 2. In the meantime, we're going to have to do a lot of damage to the right side of this board. The positioning is going to be kind of nice here for Quail to get access to the Urgot, who is not shooting at the moment, but just a little too long to get through the front line, and the Janna does not ult in time. So potential is just potential until it's realized, and unfortunately here, Quail is going to get eliminated.
Oh, does top 4 though. Sunny Shore goes out in the 5th. The common Quail still going to be the, I think, only player to top 4 every single game. Yeah, Jerry Wu did go out in 8th. So common Quail, the most consistent one of the bunch.
Yeah, looking really good. Maybe it's the new room. Maybe it's the new hair. We'll see. Maybe we got a Wi-Fi booster or something, and our APM is faster. I was watching a little bit of some old school games the other day. Got reminded of how I used to be able to get like 256 APM at the beginning of a round because I was cheating. Because I was spamming my keys and they couldn't tell that.
APM inflation.
Yeah.
Any StarCraft player certainly will know that as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And so 24 HP at the top of this leaderboard. We're only around 6-2. This isn't going to be getting to round 7. And that is all the way back to Pikachu taking a ton of HP at the beginning of the game, but unfortunately not keeping enough to themselves. 24-5 now. Kuzma and the Urgot, the only thing in... Oh, no, we have the Urgot here for Rat. Will Kuzma be able to get theirs?
Kuzma 5 HP. This may be another game that we are not getting to stage 7. Urgot versus Urgot, though. We see the consistent carries are certainly doing their job. Tahm Kench, though, is not Tahm Kench 2. It has no items. It's probably not going to do that much compared to Kuzma's, who... That's a lot of HP on that Kench over there. Sure probably over double the HP of A-Rat's Kench.
Well, and that's, in terms of value, that's double the amount of value that they're going to get from the Tahm Kench, because Tahm Kench also acts as a, partial Zephyr, as it's really Urgot versus Urgot here. It's defensive item versus offensive item, and it looks like going all offense is going to be the best defense here, as Rat going to take the L. We're going to go to Carousel. We'll see if that changes anything, but as of right now, it looks like Kuzma is going to take this, unless maybe we position separately, we get a better item. We'll see what happens.
Oh, Kuzma even gets the Shroud, and that's probably going to be the nail in the coffin. Gargoyles is just so unlikely to have as much value as a Shroud in the late game, unless the Shroud misses, but that's almost impossible, given the fact that you can just place it as the round's loading in, so you can guarantee hit wherever you want. Gargoyles maybe goes in the Jace. It is a Jace too, but I don't think it'll be enough. The game will end on this round either way, though.
Yep, it's impossible to go past this point. This is peaked or topped out boards. Seraphine might get switched out. Anyone else? No, just the Lissandra. The Seraphine going to be pretty important in terms of keeping this team alive, because there really isn't that same type of support on the other side. We have the Munda ult going through, Lissandra ults as well, but so does the Urgot. And we have the Jace going up against the Urgot this time, and offensive Urgot having a little bit of a rougher time, but around it, we get a lot more support, as the HP for this Tahm Kench is a little bit, not a little bit, very much too much to get through, as we're also gonna give a little item to end the round as well.
Yep, a little cherry on top there. It was a lot closer of a fight, but it is still going to be Kuzma claiming that one, and that's going to be double wins in a row. Kuzma went from 7th to first. Is not on pace for any records, but is on pace to, outplace a Rat in the last week, because Rat got an 8th last week, but the rest of the games were first, second. So still big shoes to fill.
Yeah, we were like, Rat got 5th this week. So knowing that, and knowing that he top 4 there, we're probably going to see him in the top 4, but let's see.
Yeah, let's take a look at the scores. We have them ready. After our 3 games, Kuzma is in the lead currently, 22 points. A common Quail in second with 20. A Rat with 18. Sunny Shore 17. Chewy 16. Jerry 15. Young Plum and Pikachu, unfortunately, down in 7th, 8th with 8 and 7 points respectively. So no chances for them to get into the top 3. but still playing for a bit of pride. Playing to play spoiler, which happens all too often, Boop. It's almost a guarantee, I would say, at this point.
Almost a guarantee. It happened last week. Well, it happened the week before that, probably. I would say like not even 60. I think like 75, 80% of the time, someone who is in 7th or 8th place will top 2 in the last lobby. And who would that affect the most? Well, it's going to affect everyone in 3rd and 4th the most. So it's going to push people out if you play spoiler. But here I'm actually really interested because Jerry Wu is in a situation now where it's kind of like put up or shut up, right? We've talked very
Yeah.
well about you. You've played very well. You've had one bad game, right? And unfortunately, that puts you on elimination station for next week. However, you are good enough to make it into that top 3. You've done it before, but we've not seen Jerry play from this position ever. So I'm very curious to see how he handles this and what kind of comps he plays. If we get a little dizzy, if we carry a little bit of the spite from lobby 3 into lobby 4, and the spite from lobby 2 because we got unfortunately we were the only person who got Yumi bugged. So
Yeah.
there's a lot there's a lot that's happened to knock Jerry off of the tightrope. We'll see if he's been able to recover.
Yeah, did see Jerry get a little bit dizzy at a point earlier on in the games. Not the cleanest of transitions overall, though it has been really, really good between last week to this. One game of a slip up could cost you, right? Even if Jerry Wu gets like 4th place, could still, not qualify for next week, or at least the next time we have a Fight Night Rising in the new year. But it all comes down to this one, Boop. It's gonna be really intense. There's still a lot of closeness. What was it? Only 7 points about separate 1st through 6th. So a lot could happen still in this final game.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of closeness, I don't know if it's really as close as what you're seeing on screen right now. But
Okay,
definitely
cool.
feeling close so far in the lobbies. Uh, I am just really curious to see how our 3rd, 4th, and 5th place players and 6th place players are going to handle it. What kinds of comps are going to be going for? Are you going to be
Yep.
hitting a little bit riskier augments, right? Because everyone's been playing pretty well. Everyone's had, other than our bottom 2, everyone's had at least an opportunity to sniff the top 4. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've been able to cash in those checks. And now we'll see if those investments pay off based on what augments give us, what the Morgod is going to give us. Because usually, not usually, sometimes this 4th lobby is a little bit of a coronation. But today, anything's still up in the air with that top 6. 15 points being 6th place is a lot of points for 6th place.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say the biggest thing that I anticipate happening in terms of the change of play styles will be if players commit to early mercenaries or not. That's going to be the big, like, 1st or 8th play. How hard are you going to commit to it? Do you even, roll for mercenaries early if you have 2 out of 3? If you hit, that game could be 1st. If you miss, it's probably going to be an 8th. And there's really no in between when you go to that style of play.
Oh, man, you're talking about like all of my games. So I've been like a top 4 player this set and have been this whole time, right? I've been living in 3rd place, and every time I play Mercs, I get 7th or 8th. At this point, it's probably my fault. But
Probably, but
I can
maybe
still
not.
blame Mercs.
Yeah, true.
Because every time I
Yep.
pack that Gangplank, for some reason like Alawi's the one I can't find. Right.
Yep.
And then like I'll get like Gangplank Misfortune and I won't see a Quinn or a Lowy for 5 rounds. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I play Mercs. We'll see if anyone plays Mercs the appropriate way here, as this is actually a pretty good opening pack here for Rat. We got 2 pairs, and we have a pretty good item start because both those items can either go into each other or move into some other components, as we got an item remover, something we actually haven't seen a ton of so far today. And we're going to end the day with a prismatic start.
What better way? We start the day with one, we end the day with one.
This is a nutty
Wise
augment.
spending. Wise spending does potentially justify early game re-rolling, and it is going to be what a rat will pick up. Only one mercenary right now. The Alawi, the hard part. No, I'm just kidding. Alawi's the easiest one to find, of course, but she gets sold. No mercs for a rat.
This is Yordles,
Rat's
it
just
looks
going to
like.
play this one. Yeah, gonna play this one consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Is where's a rat at? A rat has 18 points moving into this game, so just 4 behind 1st. A rat could be a 4 week in a row winner. the potential still on the table.
Yeah, wise bending is one of those augments that changes the way you play TFT. All of a sudden, your units are going to give you experience, not in a meep way or a barred way, but in a hey, I want you to have a shopping spree every single round. And if you don't, I want you to roll to give yourself an opportunity to. As this is something we actually haven't seen either. We got the three. We have the three loaded dice, which is actually really good for reroll compositions,
Oh,
particularly mercenaries, as we get three we get three allowies, but nothing else, unfortunately.
yeah, I think that was probably to hit Mercs
Yep,
for Jerry Woo.
it's definitely the hit marks.
Yeah, it's not like we're re-rolling for Alawi 3 or anything. Early loaded dice can make your board really strong in the early game, but if you do it for something as specific as that and miss, it feels so terrible. It's like you're basically playing down an augment, or at least down a third of an augment because one of those dice is gone. Jerry Woo, with the 8th place last game, needed to turn it around here, but that is not a good start to do so.
I don't know if I would have gone the Merc direction here, especially since the game. I truly believe in like luck being fickle, right? It's there sometimes and then it's not other times. And right now, you have to kind of track your luck. And Jerry hasn't had good luck so far today. And that would probably push me away from it. That does help. We get our Merc, but one round too late.
Yeah, it's still okay. It is a round late, but hitting it means that this is going to be salvageable. Potentially. Do I have to expend another dice for it? But 98 HP. Gonna be... Wow, selling everything as well, making the board as weak as possible. Just really wants to make sure this loss streak continues.
Yeah, and we're going to pick up some units just because we're going to get that loss streak to continue. We didn't like having the tier 2 Alawi on the bench, even though it was the only value we got out of one of our loaded dice. So interesting choice there, because even a win or two at the beginning isn't terrible. You're going to get a couple extra gold after the second win. So interesting choice here. We'll see if it pays off.
I mean, it makes sense, I think. If there's even a chance that you would not go on this huge streak, then and would win instead, it might seem kind of doomed. It might not inherently just be, quote unquote doomed, but I think Jerry Wood just wanted to play it perhaps how they know how this mercenary comp to do, and a lot of people do just go full loss streak, get to that break point of like 7, 8, 9 losses, and then I'm probably not gonna be able to go the full 11, but then cash out, get your Nikos, get your gold, push levels, and get a strong late game board. There was even a game recently, I think that someone, I think it was Soju, had like the most insane Merc game. He had like an opener similar to like full loss streak, got everything online, had 7 Mercs, like fully tier 2-5 cost units and everything, and it was probably the most disgusting one you ever see. Maybe we might want to be taking a page out of that book.
We don't approve of stealing. We do approve of tactical borrowing.
Tactical borrowing.
We're going to tactically borrow from our peers and our friends to make ours a little bit better. As we finally, that was like the slowest 10 gold I've ever seen from Jerry. Oh, man, that was painful to get up to, but we finally got there, and we're probably going to get a Merc payoff at some point. We have the cloak now with the Cho'Gath. The cloak going to be turning into a Runin's Shiv or something else with the Reforger, as Quail, most definitely our most consistent player today, going to be grabbing the rod. Or, yep, no, that's Pikachu. Quail grabbed the belt.
Yeah, grab the belt. Maybe a Morello's with that belt then. Twin Shot is here, but no Twin Shot units are on the board. Does have a Kog'Maw on the bench. Maybe waiting for a Graves or a GP to make use out of that. Playing Yordles. Hey, farming gold while being 100 HP feels pretty good.
Sure does. Farming gold, getting HP. Curious to see where Rat is on that HP, because that's something that we could hit level 7 on a reroll comp and actually kind of screw us up, because our tier 1 units get less optimal odds. So something to consider is this one's going to be a twin shot composition. Common Quail, though, sitting at 100 HP. 3 people after the carousel still at 100 HP, but it looks like we're going to get 1 less. Yes.
Yep. Can the Vibe punch one more time? Get another unit. Does punch. The unit does not fall. Common Quail starts losing, but that's okay. We're farming money with Yordles, have 20 econ, and we're not really making literally any use out of our first Prismatic Augment so far. But is setting up for a good late game, right? I think this Augment with the twin shots are going to allow you to go in Urgot Jinx board very, very effectively. Again, just need to get there.
Just need to get there indeed. And that was a winning Mercs for Chewy, so that's the opposite of what Jerry Wu was trying to do. So now that we know that there was someone who was running a winning Mercs comp, kind of going the opposite direction like Jerry is a really smart decision, now that we have a little bit more context, because if someone's already winning with Mercs, they probably have more units than you with Mercs anyway. So just lose out on the first couple rounds, get better units to surround your Mercs to cash out, and we'll see what happens after that, as a Common Quail will probably lose this round too.
Most likely, and actually guaranteed, as it is a Warwick 2 with a Giant Slayer plus a couple other upgraded units. Not bad though, 3 streak into 2 streak, still 30 gold, 86 HP. We've seen a lot worse than that before. Kuzma and Chewy gonna be, I feel like they're always like together, whether it be on the bottom of the lobby or top of the lobby. They just, if they're both streaking, they're doing hot. If they're not, they are way down there at the bottom.
Yeah, but they're going to be holding hands on fire, doing a little bit of a fire sandwich there at the top.
Just fire and fire. No other
just
ingredients.
Fire and a little bit
Bread
of sprinkle
sandwich.
of fire. It's the different colors of fire. You know, the blue fire, the red fire, the green fire, the orange. Wait.
Wait a minute.
Anyway, I'm not playing D&D. That's right. Sunny Shore now. 80 HP, staying on the bottom side of the leaderboard, but we do get a sword off this round, which should help our Talon, but it's only Talon 2, or Talon 1, and we saw that Talon 2 could get you to Krogs without losing. Talon 1 apparently can do the opposite, but help us get a lot of money. So we're going to go ahead and level up some, do a little bit of slow rolling, and a little bit of slow play, and put our Imperials in.
Imperials, oh, okay. They were in, and now they are out. Samira can be a very good commit for the Imperial composition. Still, not going to be the most common thing, but it's one of those niche compositions that you can get online and pop off with. Just going to rely on the Talon, though, for now.
Just going to rely on the Talon, and that's A-okay. That's a really good unit to at least guarantee a singular kill. That's usually what Talon can get you, and that's exactly what we're going to get here. 1 kill. And that was the Oriana. Maybe we steal the Tarek if... the Twitch gets it off, and we do. So that's 2 units down. Sunny Shore is going to take that L. That could have been worse. And we're on tap to potentially pick first on this next carousel. Jerry definitely going to pick first on that next carousel. We are playing Mercs, and that hash out's going to be enormous, since we did get to lock that in at 3-2, and it's been at least 4 or 5 rounds now.
Yep, Jerry Wu 58 HP. Yeah, it was locked in from 2-2 until 3-2. 5 losses so far. Definitely want to see what pops out of that mercenary crate when we get there. Jerry Wu is rolling down a little bit, it looks like, at level 6. We have 4 Merc right now. Hey, can we get to 5 Merc? Any 5 Mercs?
Any 5 Mercs in the chat? 7 Mercs means you've lost. A lot of the time is something that I've noticed. I've only gotten to cash out on 7 Mercs once or twice because it takes too long to get. You got to get a Thomas Kench too, I think, to make it happen. But let's talk about that if we ever see it. 3 Mercs now, and definitely a loss, as it's all tier 1 units still, and that's definitely on purpose. And because we had such a hard time getting to our first 10 gold, we're just now getting to our 40th gold currently, and we've seen a lot of people already. I mean, we literally just used the term slow roll earlier because people were using XP to level up over 50 gold. So we probably were there with Jerry and then leveled potentially, but this is a precarious situation as we get a tier 1 augment. Not as exciting as the prismatics, but should be nice for the players to say, okay, familiarity is going to return to the convergence.
Yeah, familiarity, consistency, all good options here for young Plum. We have what? There was a funny frontline. There was Knife's Edge, and then Socialite. I guess Knife's Edge isn't fantastic because the Socialite Hex is third row, so wanting to avoid that just goes into their Socialite. Yone is already a potential. The items aren't great for it. Usually Giant Slayer isn't on the Yone, but you can get away with it. Young Plum still can pivot into a few different things, though, and has the Reforgers on the bench to make that an easier pivot once one does come through.
We have two Merc players. We got one in first, one in eighth. And that very well might switch as the value of winning Mercs becomes less and less at this point, as Jerry now, with any cash out, becomes a potential winner of the lobby if it's a good cash out. Sometimes it's just a bunch of gold, and it's just not quite enough to make it through all the deficit that you've already created. As
cash out.
Here's a cash out. We're gonna get it.
Oh, Spatula's added to the chest. I think I saw it there. So that's going to be a Tactician's Crown. Jerry Wu did just get up to 5 Mercs, though, with this augment, but didn't have an opportunity to farm much or at all on that 5 Mercs. That is okay, however. Jerry Wu still has opportunity to power spike here. After the carousel, a little bit of a debate. We got to go to the carousel first.
Everyone keep clenching. All right, we're gonna see the payout. Don't worry, but make it as suspenseful as possible by tightening your body as much as possible. Is Jerry gonna be getting that bow? So some good opportunities again, right? And remember, when you're met with opportunity, you have to make choices, and Jerry's about to make some very important choices. As even if it's money, we're gonna have a lot of money to level up potentially and start we started really far behind, and now we're definitely catching up to the rest of the crew. We have a lot of HP to make up, but it's not impossible.
Here we go. We see some gold, we see some items, we see a Scion and more gold. Level 7, over 50 gold. Having a Tactician's Crown for +1 unit. Could be worse. Could be worse for Jerry Wu here. 8 units being able to be played. I think once they go to level 8, which should be on 4-2, roll it down, hopefully find a solid board at that point. Probably an Urgot Jinx kind of board with these items. Maybe a Jhin I could see as well. But Jerry Wu has the potential to stabilize and actually, contest a top 2 at least this game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would make the rushed move of using all of that money in that round instead of thinking about level 8, especially since that is a possibility. That was a dream before we cashed out, right? Now that we're gonna cash out, maybe a little too early. We did get a Tactician's Crown though, so that's really nice. We're gonna have 9 units on the board at level 8 and potentially get even stronger from that point. As we get 5 Mercs on the board. Are we gonna keep 5 Mercs?
I think so. At least for now, Thieves' Gloves were added to the crate there. The awkward thing is for Jerry Wu is that on 4-2 has the potential for multiple people to power spike, and so he's not going to be able to guaranteed cash out this little loss streak that he's going on right now. Jerry Wu could maybe go level 8 on 4-1 and cash out a 2 loss streak, get a bit of value from it, and then pivot out of the Mercs. There's also a third option where you could just get rid of 2 of these Mercs. And play a stronger board, can get rid of like the Quinn and the Alawi, just go for stronger units to cash out on 4-2 with 3 Merc. I'm curious to see what route Jerry Wu does go. So I'm curious to stay on the perspective of him. I think players can learn a lot from this.
Yeah, really good loss actually there as well.
Yeah.
Only a 3-unit loss against the Yordle squad that should be peaking in power right now. As I think we're gonna get full Yordles here from A-Rat that could pivot into like a really cool enchanter comp, if you will. Could go into snipers. There's a couple things that Yordles can get into as we are starting to add and take away a couple units now. We're still at a good amount of gold, and we're at the PvE round, so this is going to be a nice little roll down. We have to hit though. Sometimes everything is perfect up until the rundown, and the cards just aren't in your favor.
Yeah, you have a huge setup, right, and then it just all falls short at the last second. It's the worst feeling, and I think it's starting to fall short now with those items. Really wanted some nice AD items to round this off with. Now maybe he's going to be forced to make a Giant Slayer. I don't know about forced to make a Giant Slayer, but certainly wanted at least 1 glove. Yeah, it's 0, and that's rough. Mundo items, however, are going to be here. We have Warmugs. We have a Gargoyle Stone Plate. Shiv is okay, but it's going to be Giant Slayer instead, yeah.
Yep, we have the Tactician's Crown, so we at least have an extra body, but is that extra body going to be ultimate generation for our opponent, or is it going to help us out? So far, this 2-loss streak is really nice going into this round. We actually shouldn't lose by that much against this opponent here. One of our better units is going to be the Vi, and the Vi does do a lot of good damage, but if we lose, it's not going to be a wipe, and that's exactly what you want in Jerry Wu's situation.
Yeah, she'll only lose to about 3 units here. Yeah, Mundo's going to be healing on up. Vi goes down. Maybe
Perfect.
even 2-unit loss.
Yeah, this is a great loss.
Yeah, the past 3 rounds have been good losses. I think it was 3 units, and then 2 units here in this round. And this is the one where Jerry is going to spike and then look to cash out. What does Jerry find here? Is it going to be an Urgot 2? Is it going to be Mundo 2? Needs to send it. Has about 38 gold to roll it down with. Okay, Alawi 2.
Alawi 2 is not Mundo 2.
Loaded dicing the GP to find Urgots and a
And
Jinx.
the Urgot. Oh, I like that. I like that move.
And with that, it's going to sell, replace the GP, put all the items on the Urgot. No third item on the Urgot, but this might be enough to cash out with.
Ooh, this is a pretty big team here, but it's very thin, and Urgot does really good against those types of teams. No crits for the Scion, but this is an Urgot, friends. We don't need the crits. The Giant Slayer here actually going to find a mad amount of value against this team specifically, and we are probably going to cash out.
Jerry was playing this so well. I think he did everything that he needed to do. Finds the Urgot, finds the carry,
good
still
stuff,
plays
Jerry.
5 mercs. Yeah, this is good. Now he's cracking his knuckles right now. He's like, oh, okay, it's time.
It's happening. Things are going well.
All right, get some units, get some gold. The gold is really the key thing here because we need to sell these mercs, roll down, and find the late game board. The loaded dice have gotten their value. Jerry Wu is a bit stuck here, says, do I really need to roll? And I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes, but doesn't roll actually, grades out a bit longer. Okay.
We can. We got 23 HP. We could read out potentially for 2 more rounds, right? That feels like so much right now for Jerry, who has gone on 2 separate lot streaks so far today. So, man, that was a really, really good loaded dice that we saw earlier. Giant Slayer, again, finding purchase here with a lot of value. A lot of HP so far in a couple of these lobbies. Yeah. And I think we do steal at least 1 unit, but we are going to lose out one more time. This is what happened. Are we?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, the redemption on the Jinx?
Redemption?
Close. But that was a roll down difference, I think. Even if like a Zac 2 was upgraded there, that could be the difference between winning and losing, which I think is huge. It's not like we're playing Mercs anymore. Mercs came out. We're only 2 Merc right now. That glove is going to be a Hand of Justice. Solid item for the Urgot. Jerry Wu, hopefully with that, will stabilize with a couple more upgrades.
But a couple more upgrades at 16 HP, but we have enough gold, right? Remember, I said the best thing in the early game to help you win is HP. Right now, it's going to be that unit, and it's going to be the items, and it's going to be your gold.
Yep.
So you can get to those carry units, like you said. So we have Jin in a little bit of a precarious spot. That's a good carry spot for like Heimerdinger, but for Jin, you're actually taking damage away by putting him in that socialite hex. Is the extra hex difference going to be big for the Jin and compensated by some of the damage from the hex? Yes, but we'll see what happens to say, unit gets to us, what hex too early, and we are going to lose a round because of it.
Not losing any sniper value because no other snipers are being played on this board.
True.
But
big if true.
The units do get to the Jin faster. But I guess the Galio would get to the Jin just as fast.
Regardless.
We do have a full-on Clapio online. Has the IE, has the Runans. No third item, no Galio 2, so we will be dealt with rather easily. And that's going to be it for Sunny Shore. Remember earlier we were talking about Galios. When you get into that from a good spot, you can win a lobby. But if you're in a position where like, okay, I can only go Galio or I'm doomed, you're probably just doomed either way. And Sunny Shore fell into that trap there, unfortunately.
Yep, Sunny Shore finishing out in 8th place. Sunny Shore has Sunset.
Yeah, started the day off too bright, but the sun set too fast,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Unfortunate. M. Night Shyamalan twist. He's actually in first place. Just kidding.
Oh,
Young Plum
whoa.
13. Now, I almost just spoiled the movie. I don't think anyone's going to watch it, but whatever. Young Plum 13. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Who watches those?
Yeah, certainly
As
not me.
the Scholar emblem is going to be the choice. We also get the Oriana, which is really nice. Really good support there. That's going to help our front line, especially that Braum get to maybe a second ultimate along with the Scholar buff, and the Scholar is going to help our heals as well. So we have good support here. This kind of reminds me of an old composition that that lasted in Overwatch for about 2 years called Goats, which didn't really quite have a ton of damage. We have the Jhin here, but everything else was a little bit just support, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't a big DPSer. So with Jhin here and kind of the support around it, it kind of gives me that same vibe where, you know, you don't need raw damage all the time, which is super cool that that's a viable strategy in TFT.
Yeah, no, definitely. Socialites, Enchanter, Scholar, a lot of utility. Clockworks even. You give Jhin a bit of a buff, and that's going to be enough to take the round there. Young Plum has oh, actually cannot buy XP. That's March of Progress. So they're stuck. I was like, why are they at level 8 yet? And yeah, that makes sense. They're going to be there in just a couple of rounds, however. And continuing to roll it down for more Jins and Broms. Jin 3, Brom 3 on the horizon. Saving up a lot of gold to do so, though, and hopefully get a good item, good third item for this Jin.
Yeah, that actually seems to be kind of the case today. In all four of our lobbies, someone who would have had a very strong composition just wasn't able to get a third item on. Thinking of Pikachu's Urgot from a little earlier today. We have Bloodthirster on the Jhin, which is okay, right? Anytime, just even in League, if you don't have an IE, you probably have a Bloodthirster. So that goes and rings true. Oh, that's going to be a Last Whisper, too, for the Jhin as well.
Very good. You know what else? Also, we haven't really touched upon that much is Kuzma is at 100 HP still, and this is after Raptors. That's kind of crazy. Kuzma could be making the insane comeback, starting off the day with the 7th, but then 3 firsts in a row. That could very well happen here, especially given the fact that they are over 50 HP ahead of second place.
150 HP. Or, wait, sorry, 100 HP.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I was like repeating what you said, and I was like, wait a second, that's weird.
50 HP ahead. Over
yes,
50 HP ahead.
50 HP. One person is 50 HP ahead of a second place, and we'll see if anyone's going to be able to knock Shuey off of the throne there. We're going to need to talk to Obi-Wan first, but this Jhin, you know, anytime we see a Jhin comp, it's really all or nothing when it comes to this unit, right? And maybe we're getting into a situation where if we were 1 hex behind, we actually take down the Janna, for example. So that's not going to be the case here, as we do have snipers now.
Yeah, do have snipers. Still a couple more Jins until we reach Jhin 3. Jhin 3 was a big disappointment earlier on in the day, only got a 4th, but perhaps this time around it could do a bit better if we do get there. Arat has a very full bench currently, but has all the important units upgraded, right? It has the Yordle package here between Poppy, Tristana, and Lulu all tiered up. Has the Ziggs on the bench, so is farming 3 gold per turn, kind of going the old school mismatch sock strategy there, but takes all of these Blitzcranks out of there and runs Tarek for a 4th Enchanter.
A fully itemized Poppy. Poppy, let's go! And
in the
raise
Zephyr.
up! You raise me up, Josh Groban. Are you the Zephyr? Anyway, God, that would be so funny if every time someone got Zephyred, that sound clip played. You raise me up. Okay, anyway. I need to just become a game designer at Riot. I have too many great ideas.
I think so.
Tristana 3 in the back line does not need that Rage Blade because of the extra clockwork, but we do get pulled. We don't have a lot of attack speed, but that's a lot of raw damage. Oh.
Until it disappears.
Until it disappears. And this is the fastest attack in Seraphine you ever did see. This might be a draw.
I think it might be, actually. We still got the ZZ Rod to get through. Yeah, this... not even get to that point. All right.
That's a weird
usually see draws like that happen. Yeah, that is a very weird draw.
Draw. It's like a tie in like in a football game. It just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, that
You
is
want
ugh.
resolution, and the resolution here is both people lose, as it's going to be a locket of the Iron Solari, and no one's going to be using the Socialite Hex here.
Nope, not getting, I guess we'll say baited into it. I mean, Young Plum is utilizing it. I don't want to say it's a bait. I think it's actually fine to utilize the Socialite Hex there. But depending who you ask, answers may vary.
4 out of 5 doctors agree. I've always wanted to be the 5th doctor. They seem to live a better life, more
They
fun
truly
life than
do.
everyone else. Anyway, these Yordles actually doing a lot better than I would have expected. Rat playing the rats for the first time, I think, in a while. And this time, though, is going to be all Tristana. Thank goodness for the Celestial Blessing, because it is potentially going to win us all around, but it's going to be the Urgot instead. And everything has really tightened up here for these 6 remaining players, because Kuzma, Chewy's eliminated. Kuzma, who was at 100 HP, what feel like 45 seconds ago, is now lost almost half of it. And look who's on fire.
Yeah, the last 3 rounds have taken off 44 HP from Kuzma. Those were huge losses, to say the least. Jerry Wu, however, is up good right now. Is 5 win streak in a row. Common Quill down at 9 HP. Still a lot of potential here. A lot of players, however, we're seeing trends, right? A lot of Urgot is appearing, a lot of Jin, not a lot of Yone. But Kuzma going for the big swap here in the late game, has a decent Kaisa build, the most important 2 items, and now is getting these Colossi in here. Really needs to find the Kaisa upgrades and the Galio upgrades. Clapio is nearly upon us once again, and here we go. Galio 2, no IE, but that is okay.
Let's clap for the Clapio, right? Let's get these claps in here. Galio not gonna get the Giant Slayer, but will get the Rune-ins. Probably would have put the Thieves Gloves on him, actually, as it's gonna be Thieves on Fiora instead.
Yep, Thieves on Fiora, Redemption on the Scion. This board is strong. We still have a bit more gold to roll down next turn. Kuzma played this game super, super well. If you have the opportunity to sack HP like Kuzma did and not panic, you can push level 9, you can find your 5 cost carries, almost, take out people out of the lobby like we almost saw with Jerry Wu, and secure yourself for an easy first place. And I think if Kuzma hits the Kaisa 2, this is likely to be a first place looking kind of board.
All right, so we're getting into the ultra late game right now, getting into round 6-1 here soon. We have one more PvE round, and look at these HP totals, 13-1 from 3rd to 6th. Jerry was just on fire, so Jerry can win some of these rounds, can knock out someone like Rat. So everyone from Rat down at risk of finishing in 6th place. But Kuzma, with that attrition, we weren't able to see Pikachu do this because we weren't able to win just 1 or 2 extra rounds. Kuzma, though, was able to right the ship. We got a nice little roll for the Fiora, too. So we'll see if that's going to make us win out another round. The Victor ult comes through, so does the Lux ult, but the GA is going to help make sure that reset does not go through.
Yeah, the last second swap actually from Kuzma made the Kaisa dodge the Zephyr, and that made her get her first ultimate off faster. She is going to fall from the Victor ult there, and so it might be all for naught, at least for this round. It's just so tanky, the Seraphine, the Enchanters, everything. This is why these boards just stall out so much. Oh man. Jerry Wu ends up going out, even after the Merc cash out, was not able to get to top 4, is out in 6th.
Yeah, both Merc players actually finishing in 6th and 7th there. And I think this is a really good learning experience for Jerry that really could have gone either way. I think the first cash out was a little underwhelming and most likely a little early and unexpected. But we're going to be going over to Kuzma, as Chewy did winning Mercs and wasn't able to transition that gold into a win either, as it's going to be Morello's on the board for us.
Yeah, Morello's is, I don't think we already have one, so it's going to be pretty solid for a couple of units there. Young Plum, 14 HP. We have very, very close HP totals between 2nd and 5th. Only 5 HP separation there. Very intense, because this could decide if players will come back for next week, if they earn some money, if they get just a good placement, playing for a bit of pride too. And we have a lot of rolling down happening right now. One Jin away from Jin 3. Will Young Plum hit it? 2 seconds left. One more roll to go. We don't hit either Jin or Oriana. Hopefully Young Plum survives. We get a chance to hit again. Puts every single item they can onto the field.
And that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see everything get left out onto that field. I know these are just AI units, but they're representing you, and that is one of the most beautiful Galiotes I have seen today. Everyone already below half health, and no one able to recover any of it, as we have 2 more eliminations. Pikachu finishing at their highest so far. I love to see that. And Young Plum finishing in at 4th. Pikachu and Plum seem to be holding hands together in a lot of their finishes, finishing one after another quite frequently,
replay.
as we do get a replay as we move over to Kuzma. And that redemption, again, so good. Not going to help against things like Urgot, but will help against things like, say, the Jinx and the AoE there, or something of the like, especially against a lot of these Arcanists.
We see the board here from Kuzma is still powerful, but it is going up against Urgot 2 and Jinx 2 on the other side. Clapio doesn't have the IE, so he can't always clap. Looks like it might be good enough, though, but Jinx? Nope. She's going to get melted pretty much instantaneously. Checking on the other fight. Wow, these Yordles. These Yordles. A rat finally playing the rats, and turns out they're pretty good.
Pretty good. This is actually the first time, I think, in Fight Night that we've seen the Yordles actually make it to the end game, not in 7th or 8th place.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's not like the full lean into Yordles. It is just this specific 3 Yordle package, and they are very, very good Yordles, especially with this Tristana build.
Yeah, Tristana, I think, is the best carry for that Yordle build. I think a lot of people were building Heimerdinger for a really long time, and then, because you can put in the Scholar, you can put in the Enchanter with the Oriana, but you can do that anyway, right? Just do it with the Tristana instead. Keen has a really good guide online for this comp specifically, and it seems to be working out really well.
Oh, it definitely is, and this comp here from Kuzma continues to work out very, very well. 2 win streak, looking to make it 3. The Yumi even has Morello's plus Redemption. The Kaisa is still a GA state. She gets another ultimate off. This could be one that takes down the rest of the board, and yeah, nearly does one more, and that's going to be barely not an elimination. A rat lives with 1, but I think that will be the round next, or the game next round, potentially. Probably, most likely. It was kind of close, though.
It was pretty close, but we got that ultimate off. That's the difference between Kaisa and the rest of the units in this game, right? You don't necessarily need anyone else on the field, right? You just need a couple units to take a couple units off first, and eventually you're just going to have too much damage every single time you ult, as this is a little bit of an awkward carousel. We got a little bit of smattering of a bunch of different stuff, and Kuzma agrees with me, as it's going to be the Thornmail.
Putting that on the Galio. An okay roll, actually, for the Tom Kench as well. Quicksilver can't get CC'd, going to be able to delete units. Walks straight up to the backline, actually, as well. Gets to delete the Jennifer a little bit. But really, it's how much damage this Kaisa can do versus the Tristana. Can Tristana survive for multiple Kaisa casts? She's safe in the corner for now, actually. That was a good reposition to make sure that she doesn't get Galioed. Kaisa, however, she's going to be casting again. Galio jumps on there. That Bramble is going to be giving him a lot of resistances versus the Tristana, and that will be it. Kuzma's 3rd game win in a row, Boop. What a turnaround here from Kuzma.
From the bottom, now we're here, right? That is the definition of that song, and that is why you never give up. You never give up, folks, because an 8th place is just a singular result, right? You go into the second lobby and you can Kuzma it out with the 1-1-1 after that.
The 1-1-1. Not many players able to do that. Even a rat wasn't able to in the past few weeks of competition. But Kuzma able to do it. That was a good set of games, I would say. We saw a lot of variance in compositions between the AP and AD trees. There actually seemed to be both very viable. We saw not much re-rolling though, which was the thing that I guess had the most question about if we would see coming into today. Are we going to see any Shakos, protector rerolls, things like that? And it seems like players were a bit scared to go in that direction, but
Yeah,
still
not
had
a
a lot of
single
variance
syndicate
nonetheless.
comp. That Oh, I guess we got one, and it did not top four.
Yeah,
As we
we
dropped to
haven't.
three syndicates
Mhm.
after five. But you're totally right. That was actually something we didn't see a single Akali today, I believe. So
Yeah.
let's see who won tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the scores, and it is going to be Kuzma taking the dub with those three firsts in a row. Would feel pretty bad if you're able to not get a first place three firsts in a row. A common quail did top four every game, is going to be in second, and a rat is going to come back for next fight night. They still were very consistent throughout, even though they weren't able to win 4 weeks in a row. Still very, very fine, very respectable. And it looks like Jerry wins the tiebreaker against Chewy and Sunny Shore to make it into the money. Three-way tiebreakers are, not the friends of some that we've seen on Fight Night, but certainly the friends of Jerry Wu.
You know what's kind of awesome about that is the person we're talking about is Allie, and
Yeah.
I actually messaged her because of that, and now we're really good friends.
Oh,
So
nice.
the tie has actually created a friendship, even though they lost out on the tiebreaker there. So maybe
Yeah.
Jerry, Chewy, or Sunny are gonna get a little message from Bupasaurus to see how they're doing. But first, we got to talk to Kuzma, who I'm really excited to talk to because he's been here for a little bit as we get this interview going.
Yeah, I think we're going to be having Kuzma on the line. Kuzma, congratulations winning Fight Night Rising. How are you feeling?
Thanks. I feel pretty happy.
Yeah, you came in today with a seventh place, but you got three firsts in a row. Were you a little scared after the seventh place to open the day, or kind of where was your mental at that point?
Yeah, rough game was a prismatic augment, and I got the eye hand shop. So I just
Uh,
made eco, and I rolled at 7, like so much gold, and I couldn't hit anything. So yeah, that's pretty much that.
yeah, and just one more question from me before I pass it over to Boop. We are playing on a B patch 11.24. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the patch overall. Do you think that it hit some necessary buffs and nerfs, and kind of what do you feel about the game state right now in the meta?
Yeah, to be honest, I was kind of off for some days. I didn't play much this patch because I had some stuff to take care of. Last patch I was pretty good, so I was not very confident coming to this one. I don't think the patch is really balanced. I think Jin still needs some work. I think Yon's kind of weak, and I think Jinx still needs some buff. I don't think she's like solo carry.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a average patch. It's not that bad, but I think it can be better.
Okay.
You know what? Just like most things in life, right?
Yeah.
But out of today, what moment were you most proud of? I think, if it were me, getting seventh and going first would be a big moment for me. But for you, is there anything that happened specifically today that you were really proud of?
To be honest, like the last game before this one, because I lost 10 fights in a row. I had such a bad early game, and I just made eco. I had rich get richer, so I was kind of scared because I had to roll at 7-0, and if I didn't hit, I was eighth place for sure. So I think that game, that comeback to get first place, I think it's the best. I feel the most proud of. But this game was also nice. I streaked like 100 HP until level 9, almost 50 gold. So
Yeah.
I think I think I had two very good games that I'm proud of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, in terms of the games that you played, is there anything that, um, you know, in terms of what you saw, like you mentioned Jin, why is Jin so strong? You mentioned that he might be in a place where he needs to get looked at. I mean, we did see Jin 3 get fourth today. So if Jin is so, strong, how did that Jin 3, get fourth place? Was it a positioning thing? I know it got Zephyred, but what's your opinion on it?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know. You asked me if I said Jin was strong. I said he was weak.
Oh, weak. Oh, sorry about
Yeah.
that. So, we did see Jin. Let's redo the question. We saw Jin 3 get fourth. Are you surprised?
No, I think he needs a buff on his mana. I don't know how to balance it. Like to be in a good place. But I think it takes too much time to cast. He needs very good front line. He needs a very good CC on the team, and he's still gonna lose to, like, if you have 6 brawlers, it's just gonna take so much time, even with Giant
Yep.
Slayer. I don't know. It feels kind of weak.
That's it for me, Quan.
Yeah, I mean, once again, congratulations, Kuzma, on the victory. We will see you on the next fight night, but I want to give a moment for you to, shout out your social media, Twitch, if you stream and things like that before we send you off here.
Yeah, sure. Check my Twitter, Kuzma TFT. I just signed with a new team. It's coming soon, so
Ooh.
yeah, pretty exciting about that.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And thanks for having me. See you next week.
See you next week.
Congrats once again, and we will see you here next time. All right, Boop, here we have it. Another Fight Night Rising in the books, and a good one at that. It's nice to have an interview again after a rat denied us of an interview for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's funny because you know what happened? Like every other interview we have for our winner, I didn't really play that much.
Yeah, it did happen. I had some things to do, which of course people have, a lot of lives. They got things to do. That's perfectly understandable. But still coming here and, finding their groove after that first game. And I mean, even having 2 games that they were explicitly impressed about how they played, having a 10-loss streak, being able to pivot, and then playing a full win streak, and then sacking HP, and then having a really capped end game board. I was super impressed by the last game with Kuzma as well. So nice to see that, he identified the same thing there.
Yeah, totally. And I just overall, I like it when players are honest, and it's good to see that, hey, Jinx, needs a little bit of work. Jin needs a little bit of work, because we did see a tier 3/4 cost unit get brutalized. Like, it wasn't even close, and I don't think that should happen. So we'll see what happens on the next patch. We'll be here for a bit, so if you're a Jin lover, maybe there's a new comp coming up that you could be playing. Maybe some sniper emblems might be in your future, but we're going to be here for a bit. But I do think that this patch is going to allow a good amount of meaty discovery for the rest of the players, now that some of these bigger units like the Cho'Gaths are out of the way. But we did see Galio in all 4 lobbies.
Oh yeah, we saw a decent amount of Clapio. You can nerf Clapio, you can take him down, but you're not going to kick him all the way out. Clapio will still return either way, it has seemed. But also going back to, I think you noted Kuzma's takes on the patch. They were very they're very real. I think that's kind of the most I don't know how to exactly describe it, level-headed approach to the patch, but an accurate, honest assessment of these things are still weak. I think they could be improved upon, but it's an average patch. It's still decent, regardless. Things aren't perfect, but it's still a decent spot. I really appreciated that perspective from Kuzma, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. And oh man, I'm getting worried. We're gonna be almost off for a full month for Fight Night Rising, Boop. I'm not gonna. I mean, we'll see each other for D&D,
Yeah.
At least we'll still have that. So we're not gonna be separated for too long.
What are we gonna look like at the end? What's gonna happen? Am I gonna have my top knot back? Will you get
my hair might be gone? Honestly.
I know. I was about to say. I think this is kind of when you got your haircut last year.
Yeah, around that time, but we'll figure that one out. Fight Night Rising will be off until January 13th, so take care, everybody. If you do celebrate the holidays, we'll miss you a lot. But until next time, this has been Crone and Boob bringing you Fight Night Rising, brought to you by Wisdom. Take care.